Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August the 22nd, 2023. It's 9 a.m. and we're in the central jury room of the Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. Today, we have our standby in-house, or do we have?
Pastor Kevin is here.
Oh! You're supposed to be sitting next over here, but I'm going to let you give the pass here today. There you go. There you go. We are fortunate to have with us Pastor Kevin Spencer of Center Point Church to give the invocation. Welcome, Pastor. Please.
Good morning, everyone. If we would, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we take this time and we recognize you as Lord of all. Thank you for your presence to be in this place. We ask for your wisdom for these men and women that lead us in this county, and the direction and the questions they ask, that you provide the answers. Thank you for peace and patience and decision-making to be made. And thank you that all that we would do would glorify you and take care of your people in this county. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now pledge to the great state of Texas.
I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And today we are thrilled to have a bunch, and I say a bunch, special presentations and commendations. So Sheriff Deeds, would you like to come up here and give the commendations to, and see, yeah, so I'll read them off. Y'all gonna do them all at one time, or y'all gonna take in groups of two?
We got two different groups.
Two different groups? Okay. The first group is Peyton Smith, Josh Lane, Kathy Boone, Thomas Bryant.
I like to read this.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. You can pass them out. The first one, on July 13th, 2023, at approximately 8:27 p.m., Communications Officer Peyton Smith received a 911 call from a citizen who advised that her husband was unconscious and not breathing. Officer Smith, through the use of emergency medical dispatch protocols, quickly reacted to the situation and provided life-saving CPR instructions to the wife of the patient over the phone. The fire department and EMS agencies were made aware of this call. On arrival to the scene, Lieutenant Josh Lane, Sergeant Kathy Boone, and Deputy Thomas Bryant all began administering medical care to the patient. After deputies took over CPR, utilized an AED, and administered intravenous therapy, the patient began to show signs of recovery. Medical personnel continued treatment and transported the patient to the hospital. Through the quick actions of Communication Officer Smith and responding law enforcement officers, Lieutenant Lane, Sergeant Boone, and Deputy Bryant, life-saving measures were successful, with the patient quickly recovering or quickly receiving effective medical care. The quick actions by all involved resulted in the return of spontaneous circulation and the patient being alert and speaking with EMS crews and the hospital by the time they entered into the emergency room. These actions are consistent with the values and missions of the Hood County Sheriff's Office, hereby earning the recognition of the Life-Saving Award due to their actions in the line of duty, taking rescue, physical, or medical intervention actions that directly saved this person's life. Thank you.
Yeah, my guys, people think they're out there just to write tickets or arrest people, but they do more than that. They get the calls, they take the calls, and they're usually running from call to call. But a lot of times when they're close to a scene for a major wreck, medical call, if they can help, they're going to stop by and help. And in this case, they stopped and helped and made a big difference long before some of the other first responders got there. So appreciate them for everything they do. So Thank you.
The next one, on July 29th, 2023, Hood County Sheriff's Office responded to a report of a missing person at 312 Bahama Court regarding a 10-year-old nonverbal autistic male named Marcus LeBaron. His parents had last seen him at 3:15 a.m., woke up at 6:30 a.m. to find him missing from the residence, then discovered his wet clothes left near the lake shore. All available deputies responded to this location with extreme urgency and vigilantly worked to locate Marcus, fearful that the boy may have been lost in the water. The first to arrive on scene, Deputy Becker and Martone, removed their uniforms and duty equipment and immediately began conducting a linear search in the water, tirelessly checking the immediate areas around the docks. They were joined a short time later by Deputy Livingston, who wisely took an initiative and immediately began searching the residence for the child, based on the fact that his clothes were found wet and discarded, suggesting the boy could have exited the water and returned to the residence. Deputy Webb, who is our newest recruit deputy, joined Deputy Livingston, and together they began conducting a house-to-house search for Marcus as well. After deputies and multiple assisting agencies had been diligently searching for 40 or more minutes, Marcus was located by a fisherman near the area. Deputies Becker and Martone immediately swam across the channel from their location by the residence and arrived to assist in recovering Marcus, who was thankfully found alive and well. The dedication, vigilance, and excellent teamwork of these deputies resulted in a positive outcome with locating of Marcus LeBaron, which was an invaluable importance to his mother, Smyrna, and father, Eric, both residents of Houston. These deputies have distinguished themselves in their actions beyond the demands of the normal day-to-day responsibility, in that their ability to calmly and methodically and courageously search for the missing boy resulted in exceptional service rendered to the citizens of our county, the great state of Texas, and honor the reputation of the Hood County Sheriff's Office. Thank you.
So like I said before, these guys are ready for anything. They go to the police academy, they train in a lot of different things, they learn a lot of different things, but they're not scared to get wet. So they'll do whatever it takes to take care of business on whatever they're dealing with that day. So I sure am proud of all of my people. So thank you all.
Thank you, Sheriff. That's great job, great job.
I'm proud of each and every one of them for all they do every day. So
They do it.
Thank you for
They're
your
out there
time.
24/7, aren't they? 365.
yes, they are.
You got a good bunch, good bunch. Okay, next we have a proclamation declaring September the 11th, 2023, Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. Do we have anybody here from this organization here to do this? Please, yes, please, come on up here. I want you to read this. Yes,
9/11.
well, it's yes, Jim Burke's Firefighters Park, that's correct. You do so much.
I didn't notice today.
Well, this is what you do here. Who wants to read this? I tell you, Margaret Cook is always there. If anybody hasn't been to Memorial Lane lately, you should really go there. This is really something else, they keep adding something, but they just got a huge piece of the USS Arizona. Is it that big? You know, that's the, it's actually a graveyard for the Pearl Harbor, so Navy people that lost their lives at Pearl Harbor, and it's a fabulous piece. And this is going to be the only park in the world that's going to have all this
One of
stuff.
the first, it may not be the only, eventually be the first.
Well, we got the Space Center, and now the Pearl, we're the only ones that have all these pieces.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, well, good. Well, I'm going to let, you want to do this, Margaret? Okay? You two ladies get up here. We'll sit with Margaret. Okay.
All right,
Whereas September 11th, 22 years ago, the United States of America endured one of the most unconscionable tragedies in our country's history when cowardly terrorists attacked the World Trade Center, the United States Pentagon, and United Flight 93, resulting in the loss of 2,996 innocent people. And whereas these attacks tore a hole in the heart of our nation, and the pain of this tragedy still remains today. Each year on this somber date, we remember the horror and bravery shown that day, just as we remember how we came together, united in grief and in purpose. And whereas Friends of Memorial Lane renew our solemn resolve to never forget what happened on September 11, 2001, or those who lost their lives, as we honor the first responders, firefighters, law enforcement officers, emergency workers, healthcare providers, and service members who answered the call of duty, and the brave civilians who rushed into action to save lives that day. Their heroism continues to inspire new generations of Americans. And whereas Friends of Memorial Lane encourage and invite all citizens of Cook County to take time this day to pray and remember on September 11, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at the Granbury Firefighters Memorial Park. We will, by sight, sound, and participation, once again have a moving ceremony to remember, lest we forget. Let us once again unite in remembering. Now, therefore, the Hood County Commissioners Court does hereby proclaim September 11, 2023 as Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance, and encourage all citizens of Hood County to stop and remember. We further encourage all citizens to participate in remembrance service at the Granbury Firefighters Memorial Park. Signed by our County Judge and Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is very important, really. This is, Ms. Lang, that's yours. You'll sign this here, right there. You'll take it, we'll get the pretty one up here.
Jack.
I'll tell you what, these volunteers here at Memorial Lane do such a fabulous job. I mean, that's a hard part. If you haven't been there, you need to really do yourself a favor and go by. Go early in the morning or late in the evening, but it's beautiful and it's getting for you every day. So thank y'all all. Thank you, man. Thank you. Okay, now we have service awards, and the first person is Jason Lambert, 5 years. Well, if we see Eric and the sheriff here, we know this guy works at the jail. That's for sure.
He's
And he
on
does a
duty,
good
too.
job too, doesn't he?
Yep. He's on duty, that's why he's dressed like this, but longevity is a great thing to have, so looking forward to when you make 10 years.
Appreciate it.
So thank you for your service.
Thank you for the opportunity.
This is for you also.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. The next is Mariah Hankins Owens, 5 years. Oh, good. Another deputy that works in the jail. Thank you. Congratulations.
She works night shifts, so
I do.
she just got promoted, and she does a fantastic job and goes above and beyond the call of duty most days.
Most days.
Every day. Every day. Every day. I'm sorry. Every day.
You know, one thing that the Jail Standards Commissions always tell Sheriff Deeds and I when we go up there and our hearts are beating out of our chest, and the first thing that they tell us is what a great job that Eric and the staff does and how they handle and treat all the prisoners, is that the prisoners, they treat them firmly but respectfully, and they say that's a huge mark in our favor. So I tell you, my hat goes off to the people that work in the jail. Y'all do an excellent job. 15 years in a row, Sheriff Deeds has passed the Jail Standards Commission. That's a great record. Next, we have Antonio Ramirez, 15 years. Is he here today?
No, sir, he was unable to attend.
He's working. Hey, that's why he's got 15 years on here, so, okay. Well, thank you. Let's give him a hand anyway. Okay, this now brings us to the citizens' comments at large. And I believe I've got here 9 people. So 9 into 5, how many, y'all got a computer there? I mean, what is that going to be?
Just do 3 minutes and.
What?
Just do 3 minutes and go.
3 minutes, okay.
Number 3 is,
Okay. Okay, you went to, so it's, yeah. Okay, so it's, okay, we'll still do 3 minutes apiece. Okay. The first person to sign up is Linda Lopez. Ms. Lopez? Okay. Please speak into the mic so we can hear you. Adjust it. Thank
Sure.
you.
Good morning. My name is Linda Lopez. I'm the co-owner of True North Data in Tarrant County. Our company processes plats and permits all over North Texas. We have experienced a very unprofessional situation here in Hood County. Mr. Clint Head, an appointed county employee in the development department, brandished a handgun at our employees on county property. When asked who his supervisor was, Mr. Clint had told them that he was his own boss and he had no superiors. He was very rude, threatening, and unprofessional. How do we proceed with business in Hood County? He does not answer calls, never returns messages, and rarely is in the office. He told our employees that he was way behind and had stacks of work before him and before ours. If he is taking long lunches and conducting personal business during working hours, how is the work going to get done? By brandishing a firearm, Mr. Head committed a crime and needs to be released from his job immediately. Thank you.
Can we have these people under oath and pull the video up, please?
Yes.
Make accusations like that and call me by name, they need to be under oath under the penalty of perjury.
This is an open comment. We're not supposed to be, this is just for the citizens to come up here for open comment.
I got a right to address my accusers. Pull the video up.
Hold it. The Commissioners Court does have the right to place anybody under oath if they're testifying here today. And if they're going to assert criminal charges against any employee here, I think they should be placed under oath. So would you be willing to come back here and repeat what you said, Ms. Lopez, under oath?
Yes.
Okay, so please come up here and I'm going to give you an oath.
I got a sidebar on that. It doesn't happen when they come up and accuse me.
Hey, you're out of
Yeah, do
order,
they?
Ms. Eagle. You're out of
Do they?
order. You're out of order, Mr. Eagle. Would
What
you
are you
raise your
gonna do
right
about
hand?
it?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this body is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. Please repeat what you're saying now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Lopez. I'm the co-owner of True North Data in Tarrant County. Our company processes plats and permits all over North Texas. We have experienced a very unprofessional situation here in Hood County. Mr. Clint Head, an appointed county employee in the development department, brandished a handgun at our employees on county property. When asked who his supervisor was, Mr. Clint Head told them that he was his own boss and he had no superiors. He was very rude, threatening, and very unprofessional. How do we proceed with business in Hood County? He does not answer calls, never returns messages, and rarely is in the office. He told our employees that he is way behind and has stacks of work before ours. If he's taking long lunches and conducting personal business during working hours, how's our work going to be done? By brandishing a firearm, Mr. Head committed a crime and needs to be released from his job immediately.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Mr. Eagle, do you have anything you want to add?
This is open comment. I have no comment.
Joe Cortez.
I too will be under oath.
Yes. If this is the same topic,
Yes.
yes, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to this body is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please continue.
My name is Jose Cortez. I'm a family business owner in Tarrant County that processes plats and building permits with several cities and counties. I'm not sure if the Commissioner's Court was informed by the Sheriff's Department of the criminal activity by Clint Head, who threatened my employees with a concealed weapon that Clint Head brandished in a threatening way to my employees, who are also my son and grandson. I have a copy of the incident report that clearly states nothing's going to be done about Clint Head brandishing his gun in a threatening way. According to Penal Code 417 PC, it makes it a crime to brandish a firearm or a deadly weapon. Brandishing means to draw or exhibit the weapon in a threatening manner. An example is Eddie lifts his shirt to reveal the pistol in his waistband. Every person who accepts self-defense in the presence of any other person draws or exhibits a firearm, whether loaded or unloaded, in a rude, angry, threatening manner, or who in any manner unlawfully uses a firearm in any fight or quarrel is punishable as follows. If the violation occurs in a public place and the firearm is a pistol, revolver, or other firearm capable of being concealed upon this person by imprisonment in county jail for no less than 3 months and not more than 1 year, by a fine not to exceed $1,000, or by both that fine and imprisonment. What I find interesting is the day before this incident, a Miss Raspberry, who is known in the community, unknowingly, mistakenly had a handgun in her purse, and as she was walking into the Hood County Court building, a deputy saw the handgun in her purse and instructed her to go put it back in her vehicle. However, Deputy 2, whoever that was, called her back and arrested her for this non-threatening incident. Commissioners, at the very least, Clint Head should be removed from his position as an employee of Hood County. If Clint Head continues to be employed by Hood County, Clint Head will be a dire liability for Hood County and to be a threat to the public. Clint Head is not here to serve the community or the public, but rather Clint Head for himself. I am also a pastor at a Fort Worth church called Hope Works, and I know what it is to serve the community. Clinton Head is not here to serve the community, but rather to serve himself. He doesn't answer his phone calls, lacks professionalism. When you call his office, all you hear is Clint. That's it. No Clint Head, no email, no, hey, I'll call you back, leave a message, thank you, nothing. Unprofessional. I searched his Facebook page, and it's clear that Clint Head only wants to intimidate people. Because I have right here where it says he's 300% mean and intimidates everyone with his mere presence. I, sir, am not intimidated. I only fear the Lord. He believes that his opinions are truth because he says that if you ask for his opinion, he will give you the truth. And he stands corrected. An opinion is just that, an opinion. So he thinks delusionally that his opinions are truth. Clint Head should be removed from his position immediately. It's up to you, commissioners, to do your job. Thank you.
Can you play the video, both of them?
Yes. Let's preface this. Owen or Drew, would you tell us what this is?
So here we
Is
go
this part
again,
of public
violating
comments?
551. I'm going to put this on the record, we're violating the Open Meetings Act. This is not an agenda item.
It's not an
Open
agenda item.
comments, and
It's
this
op-
is
I
not the
agree.
proper place to put this.
When I get
Agree.
political
This is
attacks
not-
like this with
I
false
make a motion that we
allegations.
stop this immediately.
I second it. This is not appropriate.
This is a
Got a motion and a second on the table.
Give out of order. Give out of order here.
You have a motion and a second on the table to stop this. Are you going to call the vote?
No, I'm not calling the vote.
Another dictator.
If you would like to put this on the agenda for a future court, I would agree to that, but it's not appropriate during open public comments.
Well, this is Clint Head's response to an open comment.
There are no responses.
Doesn't matter, Judge. Doesn't matter.
No responses.
They didn't call me by title, they called me by name.
Doesn't matter. We put it on the agenda and we'll read
You're
this.
not running this meeting, Mr. Eagle. I am.
You have a
I made a motion.
second.
I made a motion and I got a
Let's
second.
look at the video that shows what they were talking
We know the
about.
truth, just go on so you don't cause no more trouble. We've got a long day ahead of us anyways. I know the truth, and I'll be talking to an attorney about Mr. Eagle talking to that man before court started. And how's that man know somebody got arrested unless Mr. Eagle let him?
Okay. All right. Based upon your withdrawal of this, I'm going to call the next person, who is Elizabeth Mercer, for open mic.
I didn't think I was social life.
Go, come on, don't start talking up there. Come up here. Did you,
So I actually signed up, I thought, for an agenda item, but since you called me, just let me
well,
say.
you've got,
Is the
you're
mic
speaking
on?
on several agenda items.
Okay, yeah, I do have several agenda
Yeah, well,
items. Okay.
this is one of them.
Okay.
Open mics.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm kind of appalled that you're using open mic to smear somebody who's got a video that clears them. But, okay, you know, you want to say it's not an agenda item, and it's open mic, and people can come up here and say anything they want. But if you have video that actually clears this man, since what has been alleged is a very serious criminal act, I don't understand why you're not playing it. No, but that's just me, because I've actually dealt with Mr. Head, and he's actually been angry with me a time or two, and I've been angry with him. I've never been afraid of him, ever. So I'm concerned that this is happening. I don't understand why you've kind of, because you've got these folks back here videoing so they can smear him, but you're not going to allow what clears him. It's that two-tier justice system again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Greg Harrell.
Well, Judge, Commissioners, good morning. I guess what I'm going to say is pretty anticlimactic, but I'll make it brief and painless, like they say when you go to the dentist. All I wanted to do was come up here and compliment and commend each of you and those that are involved in putting the agenda for these commissioners' courts meetings together. I appreciate the level of transparency. I know that we just saw things kind of veer off to the south a little bit, but it's easy for me as a member of the community to come in here knowing exactly what business is before the court convenes. And I just wanted to tell you thank you. I appreciate it. I'd ask for you to consult maybe with your neighbors down on Jones Street in regards to the clarity and the conciseness of the agenda that you present before these meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Okay, next is Brad Yarborough. Thank you.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I handed out my handouts and I said good morning to everybody, and the two people that didn't say good morning, Katie Lang and Dave Eagle, and I find that highly offensive. When someone extends a greeting to you, greet them back. It's called common courtesy and being polite. But anyway, I'm going to move on. I only have 3 minutes. So the last meeting I was here, I was challenged by Dave Eagle when he was up here saying...
Oh, wait a minute. Judge, would you put him under oath?
All right, fine. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Okay, so at the last meeting, shoot, my book's back there, but I was challenged by Dave Eagle because he was up there saying that he's in nobody's pocket and nobody's in his pocket. But the handout I handed you to the first page, oh, thank you. It was the sworn testimony of Jeannie Stacks, where she says in her testimony in court, this is a court reporter's report, that Bigger said he had 2 commissioners in his pocket, and that's why he was going to get rid of that sewer issue where he didn't have to have a maintenance contract anymore. But yet Dave Eagle said, no, nobody's in nobody's pocket. That's never been said. But yet his buddy did say that. He also challenged me to come up and show you proof that he's been deceiving people when he talks. If you look on the third page of your handout, or third, when they were talking about Katie Lang taking over the commissioner's agenda, he said it was in her purview to do it. They both did it. It was an orchestrated script that they did. It was poorly acted. But if you look at your handout, JM 63, that's an opinion, AG opinion, and it says that it's not in her purview at all. And if you look at the last page of the handout, this is some of her duties that she's supposed to do, and none of it lists the court's agenda. Even though they both came up here and said, yes, this is part of her agenda, it is not. But I don't know why they keep with this deceiving people, but here's proof. You asked for proof. I gave you proof. I don't know what else you want. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Okay. The next speaker is Dr. Harold Granick.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. I can't speak to specific incident with Mr. Head, but I've observed him many times in Commissioner's Court, and he's been nothing but professional. I've dealt with him on county matters outside of Commissioner's Court, and again, he's been nothing but professional and does a wonderful job for the county. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next, David Ferris.
I'm going to take a little bit different track. Everything I'm going to state are my opinions and what I've seen about agenda items in past, and wanted to make some comments on. First, and there are a couple of topics, is there was a discussion in the last meeting about postponing the homestead exemption of 10%. I just want to say what I was screaming in my mind was what Dave Eagle said was, take the 10% and we can always adjust it down. So my only comment is, let's have an agenda item and decide if we can adjust it down another 5% or another 10%. I would be happy to see that, all right? But we've got the 10% now. The next thing I wanted to talk about was more aligned on the previous discussions about the tax rate, all right? And yes, okay, the tax rate is going to be slightly lower, but the question is, could it be lower? And one of the comments was, or I'll use my own comment, I don't think I will ever believe any kind of government budget is really the bare minimum budget. I believe there's always things that could be cut, all right? As an example, since I've been here, coming up on 3 years, I've seen a school building, which I will, for almost $500 million, that I would term a Taj Mahal. I've seen a jail to replace an existing one, not expand for future expansion needs, which I could agree are probably there. For $35 million to still add maintenance to turn it into record keeping or office space in the middle of a development for a complex of prisons. The first responsibility, in my mind, of every commissioner should be to be as mindful of the taxpayers' dollars as possible first. All right? I'm running out of time, so if I can last this long, I'll be back to continue with some other thoughts.
Okay. Lastly, Katie Lang.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. So once again, Bradley Yarborough got up here and accused me of something I haven't done. He brought up an opinion from Jim Maddox. What he failed to read was the summary. Neither the county judge nor the county clerk controls the preparation of the agenda for Commissioners Court. The Commissioners Court, as a whole, has authority to determine and amend its own agenda. So you have the authority over the agenda. My role, as in section 81.003, the county clerk is the clerk of the Commissioners Court. So the Commissioners Court has the authority of the agenda, and I am the clerk of that court. I serve the court during each of its terms, keep the court's books, papers, records, and effects. I issue notices, writs, and process necessary for the proper execution of the court's powers and duties. And then it goes on to say that I record the court's proceedings and terms, so I take care of it afterwards also. But I commend Mr. Yarborough for trying to bring up some facts, but apparently they're wrong. So,
Would you mind repeating your statutory authority for the county clerk, please?
yes,
Section 81.003. The county clerk is the clerk of the Commissioners Court. The clerk shall serve the court during each of its terms, keep the court's books, papers, records, and effects. I issue notices, writs, and process necessary for the proper execution of the court's powers and duties. The court shall require the clerk to record proceedings of each term of the court. The record may be in paper or electronic format. After each term, the clerk shall attest to the accuracy of the record. And as Mr. Yarborough had stated earlier, that I don't publish the minutes. I think he was confused once again. All my minutes are on the Hood County website under the clerk's page. If you look under the clerk's page, you'll see the agendas and minutes. And they're updated every month. So you can search by year and by month.
One last question. Is that the government, excuse me, 81003, is that the government code or the local government?
You're out of order, Mr. Eagle.
I can ask questions.
No, you can't ask the question.
This is open comments.
That's not the rules.
Okay,
You
but
can ask a question.
this is local government code, Title III, Organization of County Government. Subtitle B, Commissioners Court and County Officials. Chapter 81, Commissioners Court. Subchapter A, Organization and Procedure. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. The citizens' comments pertaining to a certain agenda item, the rule is that prior to calling the agenda item, you must fill out a public participation form. I have a number of speakers that have signed up to speak on certain agenda items, so I haven't. So if you do not have a public participation form filled out, when the item is called, you will not be able to speak at that time. So if you want to speak on anything, please fill out the public participation form that Sheriff Deeds has. Fill it out. He will give it to Ms. Lang, and she will number it and hand it to me. So we'll now bring us to the miscellaneous business to be discussed and considered for approval. And item number 1 is discuss and take appropriate action to direct the IT staff to display public documents related to agenda items on the overhead screen while the agenda item is being discussed. I'd like to call up Drew. Is he here or is Owen here? I can't see. Drew or Owen? Yeah.
Since I put this on the agenda, I'd like to address it quickly. There was a this is just the benefit of having public comments on things that are not on the agenda item, because this was brought up a couple of courts ago, and I, not being that distant future, was sitting in the audience wishing that I could see what was being discussed. So as you might have noticed, the last couple of meetings, I've asked Drew to post my agenda items, the backup document for my agenda items, and I just think that that's a good practice, increasing transparency. Also, I know that there are links on the agenda, which I really appreciate Brenda for putting those on there, but sometimes you can't get internet access in this room, as all of you well know. So this was something that came up in a prior public comments, and it just reminded me, yeah, that's something I really would like to do, and so I put it on here to have a discussion. Thank you.
Okay, Drew, here's what I'm saying. We get a lot of documents sometimes. Some of them are for public, some of them may not be released to the public. So I think you're going to have to require the commissioner or the judge that sponsors an agenda item to get with you prior to Tuesday morning, or
to show what document
to show us what they want, and look at them, and if there's any question about it, to get with either Alan Quine or Matt Mills if you have any question about the appropriateness of showing it, like salaries or properties or things of that nature that are forbidden by law. But I certainly don't have any problem about doing that, but we just need, so that we don't have to delay the court, and what we're looking at is to have it marked and limited, or and somehow to the number of exhibits that can be shown. Is that what you're talking about, Ms. Samuelson?
Yes, Judge. Brenda always asks when we send her information, is this for public or not? And so as we're submitting agenda, I assume she asks everybody that. She asks me that when I send something in to put on the agenda with documents. She always asks, is this public or not? So I think the fact that it's on the public agenda as a link on the internet is good enough indication that it's okay to put up here, because if you're sitting at home and you have access to the internet, you can view the document. So yes, and it does say display public documents in the agenda item.
Well, it's going to require your time to pull out and have them ready so that you can go for the agenda item, am I correct? So anybody, tell us how you would like to do it.
I was going to say, so right now, what Commissioner Samuelson has done for me is basically, if she has a item sponsored, she will send me the documents that she wants published. And so like right now, we have the documents for her agenda items queued up over here on the laptop. So when she starts talking about it, she'll just say, hey, Drew, show us, and then we could just move it over to the screen. So if this is what the court would want, I have no problem doing it. If you could just email me what you would like displayed, I have no problem displaying it.
Let me ask you this, Drew.
Yes, sir.
I'm sitting here looking right now at our agenda, and every one of them has a hyperlink on it where I can push the button and pull it up. And unless it says that it's going to be for an executive session, in my opinion, it's a public document.
Absolutely.
And it should be accessible to anybody. So you can't just run this agenda like we're looking at it right now and punch it on there?
We can, but there could be something else that's not attached specifically to the agenda that is public that would want to be displayed.
Well, it should be, but they're supposed to be with the agenda item, everything that we're looking at, right? Oh, you may not know that.
I might not know.
Everything that we've got on this agenda is hyperlinked.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
And the email that was sent to ask for the agenda item, which is a public record, the backup documents, which we've all agreed that we're going to get all that to the judge's assistant by noon on Wednesday. Every bit of that is open records except for something that may or may be classified as a executive session item. So it seems to me like all you got to do is have this agenda and punch it over here. Is that correct? The same one I'm looking at right now, I can push a button.
Well, we will, so I'm not going to do that while we're doing it. Me personally, we're going to have everything queued up prior to that. So again, it'd be kind of weird to throw the agenda over here on the screen and then click on the link and then wait for it to load, et cetera, when you were in the middle of trying to discuss something. So we'll have all the documentation prior to that in a PDF format. And of course, excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. As the court talks about those items, you'll see myself and Owen will like throw it over the actual document itself, not from the link. And so that's all I'm saying is we normally have everything queued up ready to go because it would be kind of hard and we would be waiting on the system, you know, when you're in the middle of something to try to go, okay, come on, hurry up. We need this document right now. They're talking about it. We'd rather have everything queued up prior to that. So it's easy to just display and kind of goes with the flow. I would hate for you to be talking about something and being like, yeah, Drew and Owen are going to show this, and we're still waiting for the system to click through the hyperlink and to get through everything to display your document. That's all I'm saying. Sorry. That's all I'm saying. But we can certainly have everything queued up, absolutely. That was myself and Owen were talking about that. We'll have everything queued up from the document you're referring to just prior to the court. But we'll make it as easy as possible.
Good. Okay. You want to make my motion?
Sure. I'd like to make the motion to direct the IT staff to display public documents related to agenda items on the overhead screen while the agenda item is being discussed.
Second.
But prior notification of what agenda items? You want to add that according to what Drew's just said?
So are you saying that the commissioners would need to notify Drew of which, I kind of, you know, it is on the agenda.
I'm just going to pull from the agenda. I guess if there's anything additional that you want me to show, then just let me know.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes there's a lot of paperwork that comes with one of these, and it may be incumbent on us to say, hey, can you put this part of it on the screen? Because I'm
And-
sitting here
and I was
looking at
gonna
this.
say- and I
The
failed to mention
emails
that,
sending
yes.
in to
Yes.
request the agenda item, you know, we don't need that.
That would be a lot easier, yes.
I'll revise the motion to say the motion is to direct IT staff to display public documents related to agenda items as directed by the sponsoring commissioner on the overhead screen while the agenda item is being discussed.
I'll second that one.
That works. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Thank you.
It's a majority. Thank you, Drew. Okay, item number 2, consider and take appropriate action regarding Coke Beatty's request to reappoint Christy Massey for a term of 2 years as trustee for Pecan Valley Centers for Behavior and Developmental Health Care to serve September the 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2025. I see Mr. Coke Beatty there. Would you come up here and address this body, please?
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Appreciate you inviting me up here this morning. I really appreciate y'all considering reappointing Christy to our Board of Trustees. She is a godsend to our organization. As you know, we serve 6 counties. Each county Commissioners Court appoints 2 local representatives. Except for Somerville, they appoint 1. So we have 11 trustees. And Christy's doing a fantastic job. And I hope y'all reappoint her. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those for you this morning.
Thank you, and thank you for the job that you're doing. You have a great organization. You're really helping a lot of people. How many years have you been with Pecan Valley now?
Since 1992, so...
Only 1992?
Yes,
That's
sir.
only 31 years?
A little over, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay,
Pushing
well,
32 years.
You're doing a great job. Thank you very
It's
much for all that
an
you
honor.
do.
It truly
You're doing
is.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we reappoint Christy Massey for a term of 2 years as trustee for Pecan Valley Centers for Behavioral and Developmental Health Care to serve from September 1, 2023 through August 31, 2025.
Second.
Okay. I got a motion from Commissioner Wilson to take Coke Beatty's request that Christy Massey be reappointed for a term of 2 years as trustee for Pecan Valley Centers for Behavior and Development Health Care to serve from September 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2025. Second by Commissioners both Andrews and Eagle. So that's a pretty good motion up there. Okay. Well, I guess Commissioner Andrews beat Commissioner Eagle, so we go. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Good. Stop by anytime, sir. Okay. Item number 3, consider and take appropriate action to authorize county judge to sign the interlocal agreement for continued participation in the Regional Public Defender for Capital Cases program. I'm the one that put this on here, and although the premium for this cost about almost $27,000 a year, what it does is that if a capital murder occurs in Hood County and we have to have a capital murder trial, it can almost break the county for the expenses provided in this. That is, the attorneys, the defense attorneys, the experts, and everything else. You can witness what happened in Erath County when Chris Kyle was murdered there. It like to broke it. In fact, they couldn't continue. They had to withdraw the death penalty and reduce the charge to life imprisonment without possibilities of parole. I mean, it's just an onerous deal. You never need it until you need it. And so I just think that it's something that we have to do. I don't like spending the money, but if you ever have a capital murder case, it could break the county. And you agree with that, Ms. Kidd?
Yes, I do, Judge. We've been doing this for many years.
That's right. So I'd like to continue doing that. So with that, I make a motion that we authorize the county judge to sign the interlocal agreement for the continued participation in the Regional Public Defender for Capital Cases Program.
I second that.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Item number 4, consider and take appropriate action to cancel the GPS Track-It account for the vehicles at the Fire Marshal's office. This account is $719.64 to renew. All of the Fire Marshal's vehicles are GPS enabled in Spillman. We got Fire Marshal Jeff Young here to explain this.
Judge, Commissioners, this was an account that was added to fire marshal vehicles several years ago when there was an option to turn off GPS in Spillman. I don't even know that that option exists anymore. All of my deputies use the mapping system in Spillman. It helps us figure out where we're going, where the calls are, and it's also trackable so anybody that has access to Spillman can see where we are. I look at it as an officer safety issue and like to have all of my guys signed in so that if they're checked out on the side of the road for 2 hours and not answering the radio, we know where to start looking. However, I think this other GPS Track-It account is a redundancy, and in the interest of trying to save a little money, I was asking to not renew that.
Thank you. That's really appreciative of you looking for things that are redundant and bringing them to court. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The only thing is that when you get into your vehicles, you have to turn on Spillman, do you not?
We do have to log in every time because if we're out of the truck for 10, 15 minutes, it automatically closes and locks out and all of that. So it's a CJIS requirement that it doesn't stay open and display all the time. So yes, we do have to log back in it when we get in the vehicle.
So I think what we need to do in the interest of safety so we can find out where you are is that immediately upon entering the vehicle and after you start it, that before you put it in drive to leave, you turn on and engage Spillman,
yes,
I
sir.
guess.
Correct.
That would be a standard operating procedure, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion?
Yeah.
Move that we approve to cancel the GPS tracking account for the vehicles at the fire marshal's office. You know, the account will save, $719.64 and require that as each of the fire marshal and their deputies, get into the vehicle, they log in to the GPS-enabled Spillman before they depart the scene.
Second.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to cancel the GPS Track-It account for the vehicles of the Fire Marshal's office, second by Commissioner Andrews.
Samuelson.
Commissioner Samuelson, yeah, sitting near to each other here. Trying to read ahead here. Got a few bookkeeping assignments here by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you, Chief. Okay, item number 5, discuss and take appropriate action to allow the Elizabeth Crockett chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution to use the courthouse lawn, gazebo, and sidewalk for a Constitution event on Sunday, September the 17th, 2023, from 2:45 p.m. to 4:45 p.m. with setup at 2:30 p.m. I put this on here, and due to a bunch of recent conversations with the State Historical Commission, it appears that it may be just a routine matter. I know Elizabeth Mercer has been talking to several people with the Texas Historical Commission that on stuff of a less permanent matter, they would like to just be informed of these events to see or confer with us to see if proper precautions have been taken to preserve the buildings, the property, the lawns, etc. So it may be just a matter of routine, but it looks like it's going to be another paperwork situation, and that we're going to have to inform the Texas State Historical Commission before we actually do anything. But we do need to go ahead and approve it here first and then possibly make an application with the state. And we're going to see who's going to be responsible for that and how we can do it. And the application is not that complicated, and on something like this with the Daughters of the American Revolution, just using the facilities for a short period of time, I think that it would just be almost a matter of procedure just to let them know that the grounds and buildings and, quote, property are being used. Do you agree with that, Ms. Mercer? Yes. Okay. So with that, anybody else have any other things to say? Any other further discussion?
I do have a question, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the mic.
Yes, Ms. Cook.
Yes, so this is all new, I'm sure. I don't think you've had to go through this process in the past, so as we have learned from the Texas Historical Commission. So is it your group that's going to make the application, or how's this going to work?
It sounds to me like Elizabeth Crockett will make the application. We'll do whatever you all want us to do. We're preparing to celebrate 250 years of the Constitution. We'll be trying to do certain things around, so we'll be happy to do whatever we need to. We've done this before at the courthouse. We ring the bells at 3 o'clock around the nation.
Yes.
And so whatever we need to do.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing that you're doing, so, and I don't see how, but, I can't speak for the state, but something that's not a permanent change, I don't see why they would deny it, so thank you for following the process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cook. Okay. All right, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to allow Elizabeth Crockett chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution to use the courthouse lawn, gazebo, and sidewalk for a Constitution event on Sunday, September 17th, 2023, from 2:45 p.m. to 4:45 p.m.
Pending approval from the Texas Historical? Okay.
Make application.
Would you?
Second.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to allow the Elizabeth Crockett chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution to use the courthouse lawn, gazebo, and sidewalk for a constitutional event on Sunday, September the 17th, 2023, from 2:45 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. with the setup at 2:30 p.m., second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay. Item number 6 has been pulled, so we go to item number 7. Discuss and take appropriate action to modify the Hood County Library schedule to remain closed on particular days to coincide with Hood County holiday schedule. Specific dates in the proposed library schedule attached, and we have Yes. What is your name?
Cookie.
Cookie. How could I forget that? I got you mixed up with Robin because of the bookmobile there.
Robin drives the bookmobile, that's right.
That's right. So now I have, Cookie,
Okay.
please.
I am the assistant director as well as the youth librarian, and I am here for exactly what you said, to ask you to please consider modifying the holiday schedule. There are just a few dates, and they are all coordinated with the holidays when other facilities are closed. And so we're asking, and sometimes it's a problem because of parking as well. So please consider what Jennifer has laid out for you.
Okay, what are those four? There are 4 holidays, right?
Correct. Saturday, November 25th, which is Thanksgiving weekend. Saturday, March 30th, Easter weekend. Saturday, July 6th, the Granbury Square 4th of July celebration. And that's the one where parking becomes a major issue. Saturday, December 30th, New Year's weekend. And then she is also asking if you would close us for 3 days for inventory and training, which is December 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Okay. I think that's very appropriate. Does anybody have any questions, or would you like to care to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to modify the Hood County Library schedule to remain closed on particular days to coincide with Hood County holiday schedule. The specific dates in the proposal are attached to the library schedule. Sorry, let me do that again. Okay. Modify the Hood County Library schedule to remain closed on particular days to coincide with the Hood County holiday schedule as per the attached holiday schedule.
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to modify the Hood County Library schedule to remain closed on particular days to coincide with the Hood County holiday schedule. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Does the attached also include the 2 days of inventory?
It does, and
Yes, I
it's
just
3
want to make
days, sir.
sure
I'm
that-
sorry. It's the 27th, 28th, and
It was
29th,
just
Yep.
on the screen.
which is
Yep.
fewer days than we've used in the past.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Thank
Looks like
you.
it's unanimous. Please tell Jennifer Loxton it proved it, and you did a great job cooking, okay?
Thank you. And by the way, I've gone, my real name is Diana, but I've gone by Cookie my entire life. And as the children's librarian, it's very helpful because they can all remember that.
They do remember it. I should have remembered it. But my wife tells me I don't like cookies anymore, so that's
Oh.
why I had a problem. She told me I didn't like them, so good to see you. Thank you very much. Okay. Item number 8, approve request to reject all proposals for RFP 2023-09 fire truck maintenance and rebid as RFP 2023-07. We got the purchasing department here, Mr. Glenn Tillman.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Proposals for RFP 2023-04 fire truck maintenance were opened on August 3rd at 10 a.m. And though several vendors showed intent to bid, there was only one proposal received. That proposal was 2 to 3 times the cost of the previous contract. So purchasing and the fire marshal recommend rejecting the proposal and rebidding. The fire marshal is going to adjust some of the parameters on the what we put out for bid in hopes of attracting more interest and better proposals.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I make the motion to reject all proposals for RFP 2023-04 fire truck maintenance and rebid it as RFP 2023-07.
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to reject proposal 04 for fire truck maintenance and rebid as 07, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Item number 9, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the order of the November 7, 2023 constitutional amendment special election. We have Ms. Stephanie Cooper here. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Attached, you'll see the order for the November 7th election for the constitutional amendments. The governor ordered it already, and then now it's just your turn to.
Okay. Did Mr. Alan Quine here, did he look at it?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Has Matt Mills looked at it? Or the Secretary of State, I guess, has got to approve it too, doesn't they?
Yeah, so this is just a standard template that the state sends us.
So it's
We
been...
just, yep, we
Okay.
fill it in, and then you guys approve it.
Okay, so this is something you need to do, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the order of the November 7th, 2023 constitutional amendment special election.
I'll second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the order of the November 7, 2023 constitutional amendment special election, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Item number 10, discuss and take appropriate action to appoint Lance LaCour to the Board of Directors of the Hood County Development District Number 1 to fill the seat vacated by 2 director terms expiring at the end of August 2023 in accordance with the LGC Chapter 383 County Development Districts, Subchapter C, Administrative Provisions in Section 383.045. Any discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the appointment of Lance LaCour to the Board of Directors for the Hood County Development District 1 to fill the seat vacated by the 2 director terms expiring at the end of August 2023 in accordance with Local Government Code, Chapter 383, County Development District, Subchapter C, Administrative Provisions, and Subsection 383.045.
Second.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to appoint Lance LaCour to the Board of Directors of the Hood County Development District Number 1 to fill the seat vacated by the 2 director terms expiring in accordance with LGC Chapter 383, Subchapter C, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next item, discuss and take appropriate action to allow the county judge to sign the license agreement with Motorola Solutions for the Texas e-citation module. This module interfaces with the current Spillman software and allows law enforcement to enter, complete, and submit traffic citations electronically from the field. This is a 5-year license agreement. Upfront cost for hardware, accessories, and implementation is $40,525.19. The Motorola quote, beginning in year 2, the annual subscription fee is $5,323. The initial cost will be paid out of Fund 55. Ongoing subscription fees will be budgeted in IT contract services. We got the Sheriff's Office, we got Lieutenant Barry here, and you must be from Motorola.
No, Judge, I'm Jody McGuire. I'm the Admin Support Manager at the Sheriff's Office.
Now I know who you are. Yeah. Okay. Please, tell us about this.
So this is a project that we've been working on for quite some time. It's been brought to court in the past. What we're looking at for inter-office for within the Sheriff's Office, it's taking the data that is having to be manually pulled using a paid position, and this system pulls the information that deputies start off by putting into the Spillman system in the very beginning. Because of the way that it's created, there's a lot of different extras that you could do with it that takes it all the way through the court process and allows them to do the same as us with less data entry. A big portion of this, like I said, comes from the racial profiling reports that's required by the state. I've got Jody here today that could go over some of that process with y'all if you'd like, of how much time that does take with that and the problems and issues that we run into, whether it's a data entry problem, a clerical error, deputies with their handwriting, or just gathering the information on scene, whether it's traffic related, any Class C related offenses. Do you want to?
Do you have anything to add?
But I just wanted to, be here in case, like he said, if you have questions, we do, I know it says e-citations, it's a little bit misleading, but it's all citations, warnings, verbal warnings that will go into the system. And like he said, it would also relieve a position completely if we were able to get this system.
Okay. I think the Highway Patrol has already gone through it, hasn't it?
Highway Patrol has been in it for almost 20 years now. I talked with Sergeant Templeton specifically. They are in the process now of upgrading the system they've got, above, but it is a proven system, and it will, prove to be beneficial to the true officers in the field.
Yes, sir, that is correct. A lot of agencies have already gotten away from pen and paper just because of the clerical errors that are made, and then that, of course, reflects on the profiling, any type of data entry stuff, even just simple things for the courts. Like I said, that's not my wheelhouse, so I may be, speaking some information on it, but I don't know everything on their end. But I know a lot of things that get entered. I get clerks from the JP's offices contact me and say, hey, the deputy wrote this violation, what statute is that? And so each violation, whether it's speeding or, open container, whatever that violation is, there's a statute code that has to go with that. So if the deputy doesn't know those, and there's thousands of those codes, the courts have a hard time inputting that information in for the state reporting stuff. So it's an all-in-one system, kind of takes care of a lot of issues that I see within the county and a lot of people see within the county. But to go back to DPS, yeah, they've been using a system. There's tons of systems out there. This is just one system that works currently with our Spillman module, as well as the Tyler Odyssey module, which is on the JP side.
Okay.
So, we tabled this last court to do a little bit more research on the understanding the position, and that it would be eliminated if this, so it is a wash as far as the expense is concerned. And I also did a lot more research, talked to several other counties as well as Granbury PD. Granbury PD is also asking for this same software in their budget cycle this current go-round. One of the things that came up when I was talking to another county, not just the typos, but if you're standing out writing a citation or a warning and it's raining, that even causes more problems as far as a raindrop, dropping on ink, then you don't know what it says. The scanning ability, there's no question about who you stop because their driver's license is scanned directly into the system. So as far as efficiency, safety, all of that is going to be vastly improved, and that's what all the counties and PDs that I talked to said. One of the questions, and you just mentioned that about the interface into Tyler, and the Motorola rep said that they would download the information included with this, but the upload into Tyler would probably cost us something else. So I think we would like to understand, well, I would like to understand what that cost is, and is it required, or because the information that goes to the JPs is a small percentage of the warnings and citations that you issue, would that still be done manually? Or if we don't do the upload into Tyler for whatever expense that is, how do you see that working?
So I spoke with Drew about that question, because IT is just definitely not my wheelhouse with that basic understanding of it. But from what I was told by Spillman was that they provide the information, there's no additional cost for that. Tyler Odyssey system, which the JPs use, they may charge a fee to create that, however that may be, but Drew would be the one to be able to talk more on that interface, on how that would work.
So like Captain Barry said, sorry, my voice. I did speak with Captain Barry about that. I don't have a cost on that. I'm quite literally typing the email right now. I just found out the point of contact from Tyler, who we need to reach out to see what it would cost to get basically that all built. But I don't have a cost for you at this time.
Okay, and is that not part of the Spillman-Tyler interface that
No,
Owen's
this is
working on
completely
currently?
different. We'd have to make a completely separate API for this. No.
Okay, I was hoping the answer to that would be
No, it doesn't. Sadly, it doesn't work like that. Every time we add something to it, we got to make a separate API for it.
Okay.
But what would be the offset to doing it the manual, the paperweight, and the paperweight that we're doing now, the tracking of that and the errors that occur on the citations, that's, I mean, there's going to be some offset that will be of benefit.
Sure. So currently, if we, let's just say hypothetically, this was to be approved, which is taken care of the sheriff's office within that, for the Odyssey addition, there's an additional fee, whatever that may be, we're at least getting the correct data, like Commissioner Samuelson brought up, from the offenders to the courts. Yes, there's still going to be human error if we don't do the interface on the JP side because a clerk by mistake or whatever, but at least they're getting all the information. Like I said, a lot of the problems that I've seen within our office of saying, hey, what does this deputy's handwriting say? Or, hey, we were put in for this violation, what was actually the violation? And that takes time going back, reviewing videos, finding out what it was that the officer may have stopped for or written a citation for in general, non-traffic related. So it's definitely worth looking at to take care of the JPs. It's definitely something that is a benefit for the county as a whole. But in the beginning, at least, we're getting all the correct information from the get-go, and then, like I said, hopefully to follow through with it, with Drew getting that information on the quote to create that interface to where the JP's offices, it again, saves them as well, like it would do our office.
All right. Anything else, or do I hear a motion?
Yeah, is there, Is there another product out there that does work with everything and get it over to the JP courts, or
No, so there's all kinds of products, but not, since we have Spillman as our CAD system, that we already have the product, right? We're just buying a module through that. I did find some agencies, unfortunately, Spillman's used all over the United States. I couldn't find any here in Texas. I don't know if they're not having that issue or what, but some other states that showed the systems that they were using. So there are other systems out there, but playing with the systems that we have, the two, Spillman and Tyler Odyssey, that's, from what I have knowledge of, that would be the only way of making this happen, because again, the front user is Spillman, and so that's where the deputies are inputting that information and then storing all that data for future involvements or anything like that.
Okay, and I spoke yesterday to Kelly over at Animal Control. One of the JP courts said, hey, it would be nice to get animal control on this system too, but I guess we'll need to wait on that step and make sure that the interface over to JP.
And on that matter, like I said, at least they're getting all the correct information. So that's kind of an all-in-one if we're looking at it that way with the sheriff's office. If we're looking at, which I think is a great idea by all means, taking all criminal offense related stuff to be able to at least get them all the information that's needed. Yeah, animal control could use this system. Anybody within the county entity itself could opt to go into this and create this streamlined system. So
one of the products that one of the other counties had was called, it's similar to eCitation, but it's called Brazos, and it's a Tyler product. So it would automatically interface with the JPs. But then I think, and this is probably a question for Drew and Tyler, that we would then have to write an interface to Spillman. So either way, if we were to go and search out and find out that Brazos system was comparable in price and had all the functions, would we then be at the point, yeah, it interfaces to the JP court, but now it doesn't interface to Spillman?
Well, and that's the thing. It seems like everyone uses a different system, and trying to make them all work is definitely a thing we currently work on. But yes, so I mean, again, Tyler has a CAD system as well, but we don't use it. So even if you use something that integrates into Odyssey, like you said, you'd have to try to get the information back to Spillman. Mm-hmm. I mean, pick your poison.
Yeah. Okay.
At this point. So I was going to say, if we go with this now for the sheriff's office, like I said, I just sent out the email to our CSAM to get pricing to what it would build, to get the pricing to build the API. Mm-hmm. Because if we do this, obviously we'll want that other piece to that. So we'll probably just do it.
So how will currently for this percentage of citations that go to the JPs, will they get a printout? How will they get their information? Since there's no manual, there's not going to be a piece of paper anymore. How will they get the information?
So we'll still retain copies of the original, the document, the print-off documents.
Okay, that's
so
right.
Depending on how we want to set up things, that's something that we could sit down with the JP's office and say, hey, what would you prefer within your office? The main thing is it being electronic.
Yeah, you probably can just email it to them.
It goes directly to them through the system, through Spillman, and then they're able to pull that data through there into their Odyssey program. To go back to your question that you had in regards to which way, I think with that and the things that I've read, because of it being a front user getting the information, being a Spillman user, a deputy out on the street or animal control, I think that's why whatever the CAD system is kind of what you have to start off with, and then that's pushing out the information, then create something to grab that information and import it into their system, I think is basically what it comes down to. Okay. Also, with some of those other counties, I did find that the Odyssey program did cost substantially more than what Spillman was doing because, again, they're willing to give the information at no additional cost because it's part of the module, not having to charge an extra fee for that. And on the Odyssey information that I saw, if you had the Tyler CAD system, it was going to cost an additional thing from all the printouts that I saw. So it's going to, there's an additional fee there for that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got something, if everybody else is done. So I'm looking at a Hood County Sheriff's Office report here, date range June 1st, 23 through July 1st, 23. It's showing total stops 323. Citations with no arrest, it says citation 317, citations with arrest 6. And, but if you continue on in the punchline of the back of the last page of this document, it says results, no entry, 322, which is that no citations issued, or was that a warning? And you're showing 5 arrests out of 323 stops for no entry, just violations of the penal code, it says, as the arrest was based on, and 1 POD, a possession of drugs. So my question here is we're looking at an agenda item between this item that we're talking about and the next item. We're talking about a proposal to spend $60,000. And I'm sorry, but if you break that down, if you break the numbers down on citations issued, because Commissioner Samuelson brought up citations issued, well, it could rain on it or whatever. But if you break it down to citations issued that's on your report, that's $833 a ticket. And that's a pretty expensive proposition. I mean, if you break that down the numbers, it's not cost effective to write any tickets. But the point I'm trying to make is I don't know if, I mean, I'm having trouble seeing the utility of this. That's just me. It's just me.
So, I believe you're looking at the racial profiling report. Am I right, Commissioner?
I am.
So I think part of that is that the system allows us right now to, when it says result of the stop that's an arrest, is yes or no. So that's why those are the numbers that you're seeing. And then there is a special one where we input if there was possession of drug paraphernalia. So those arrests could be arrests and citations. It could be, this is kind of hard to necessarily.
Well, I have another set of numbers here. This is in 2022, the average number of sheriff's office tickets that went to JP court. JP1, 9 tickets a month. JP2, 6 tickets a month. This is breaking it down per month. JP3, 5 tickets a month. JP4, 10 tickets a month. Similar numbers for the first 6 months of 2023. Again, spending 60 grand on some software I'm having trouble with that. I'm sorry.
No, I understand where you're coming from. The whole point of it is doing away with a full-time position. I mean, this system is doing that for us.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I haven't seen it.
You got to implement it first.
I've heard that.
I mean, you got to implement it to see it. I mean, it's very hard for us sometimes to get y'all to see things as a court because you're not the front-end users. I get that it's y'all's responsibility to look at budgeting things, but I would not be here asking for a product that's not going to benefit the county as a whole in every entity, whether that's the sheriff's office, the JP's office, or whatever. But like I said, this was something that was dear to me, seeing that, hey, there's a system that can ultimately do what a person can do very easily and more effectively, and again, we can move forward with that. But again, I don't know. It's kind of hard not seeing that the money weighs out because it pays within itself within just over a budget year.
So are y'all letting somebody go?
We haven't hired for the position for approximately 3 months. just to get us to where we are today, because we were going to bring this to court for the new budget year. But again, we've put off for 3 months, held that position, and gotten by with a lot of struggles during that time.
So is there a backlog of information that needs to be inputted, or?
No, I just have a lot of great employees that when the time is tough, that they'll pull their hair out and take on some added responsibilities that aren't really in their job duties from the beginning, but it's not a permanent fix. It's not something that we could continue to stay afloat with for the foreseeable future of just saying, hey, we're going to take those job duties and make somebody else do them. It's been very, very, very difficult to stay on top of those things.
So what you're really saying is that if we don't get this software, that you're going to have to fill a position. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's going to be about a trade-off, because the sum total of item 11 and 12 is $54,085.19, which is basically, clerk and benefits. That's about, it's almost a wash.
Yes, sir. And one of the biggest things that I see within the county, and not just within the sheriff's office, definitely I see that on a day-to-day basis, but I hear every elected official, every entity within the county get up here and talk about how great their clerks are, how much work that they do for us, and I agree with that. This is one of those things that can help lighten the load for those people that fall in that line somewhere within this workload of e-citation, whether that's, again, within our office, within the JP's offices, all the way through the court process as a whole. The first line users is the deputies. So there's a lot of people that a system like this can affect. So.
You see, one thing, make sure everybody understands, the racial profiling requirement is something you have to do to the state. It's not an option.
Yes, sir.
That is required.
And is that once a year? How often does you submit it? I mean, you're collecting it all year long, but
Sure.
it's required to be submitted?
Submitted, yes.
Once a year?
Okay. And so with this system, what's nice about it is every minute throughout the day almost, it's being updated, because it's pulling that data that's already entered into the system from the very get-go. So we're able to, as far as administration, stay up to date to see, hey, this is where we're currently on track. This is what it's looking like throughout the year with anything, whether it's racial profile related. Instead of trying to take a bunch of data at the end of the year and then trying to go through it all and see, where we're currently at with anything. So there's a lot of reports that can be pulled, all kinds of different things that can be done with that.
So do we ever have an instance, because the data could be disputed, that someone goes to court and says, no, that wasn't me? And so at this point, with this software scanning the driver's license or the license plate, would that cut down on instances of that happening, or am I just?
I don't know, as far as I wouldn't be the one to say. They don't notify us, the courts don't notify us and say, hey, this was messed up, so we had to dismiss this. So I don't know if that happens here locally. That is a concern, an issue that does happen at agencies. Some agencies, they just say, hey, this was messed up on the citation, depending on what the information was, and they just dismiss and move on.
That's one of the benefits that, in talking to all the counties that I talk to and police departments, that with the information being uploaded, there's no transposing of letters, can't read the handwriting, so any question that you were the person who was stopped is pretty much eliminated.
Well, and the gist of this thing is the efficiency that you get on the backside with the racial profiling, because you've eliminated a position for roughly $40,000 one time and then $5,000 a year. So,
and that's where we originally looked at this for, is when it was brought to our attention many years back. We saw that, and again, we didn't just jump right on it. We waited to see, how it would play out, what it would look like for other agencies. And so that was what really caught our eye with it. And then when you start seeing all the other things that it can do, as far as throughout the whole process, I look at those as just the added benefits that come into it with having a streamlined system program that's 21st century type software. So
So I'd like to make the motion to allow the county judge to sign the license agreement with Motorola Solutions for the Texas e-citation module. This module interfaces with the current Spillman software and allows law enforcement to enter, complete, and submit traffic citations and warnings electronically from the field. This is a 5-year license agreement. Upfront cost for the hardware, accessories, and implementation is $40,525.19 from the Motorola quote 2046940 HGA-C RA05-21. Beginning in year 2, the annual subscription fee is $5,323. The initial cost will be paid out of Fund 55. Ongoing subscription fees will be budgeted in IT contract services.
Second.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Samuelson, verbatim from item 11, that the county judge signed the license agreement with Motorola Solutions for the Texas e-citation module. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner Eagle objecting. Item number 12, discuss and take appropriate action to purchase 20 in-vehicle printers to support e-citation from Turnkey Mobile Direct TSO 4025 at a cost of $13,500. Costs include thermal printer, car adapter, USB cable, vehicle mount, and 60 100-sheet rolls of paper. Cost to be paid out of Fund 55. Commissioner Samuelson.
Yeah, so these are the onboard printers that go with the module that we just discussed. So then, once they scan the information, enter the information of what the stop was about, then they can just print the document right there and hand it to the person. So this is part of the one we previously discussed.
Yeah, it's part of number 12. Yeah. So.
The only thing that I saw on here is after talking to a few different people involved in everything and looking at the animal control aspect. I've definitely spoke with animal control. They like the idea of it. I'm hearing the JPs. They think that would be an added benefit to that. I know it's been brought up several times. We put 20 because we were only, again, like looking at in the beginning, the aspect of the racial profiling thing. Animal control, their stuff, they're not making traffic stops. Their stuff doesn't play into the racial profiling stuff. However, it does play into the efficiency of how citations are pushed through their system. So the only thing that I would recommend or ask that we change is if we're wanting to do animal control, we look at an increase in the printers from 20 to 25 to equip that with animal control.
I would like to, on that, I think we need a little further information on the Tyler side to make sure that that's going to convert
Perfectly fine with that. I just want to make sure that if we were looking at, y'all's thoughts with animal control, we were taking that into consideration at that time. So,
yeah, as long as
like
that's cost effective, I think that totally makes sense. Yep. But
sure,
let's check and see where we are on that.
20 takes care of the patrol vehicles that are out making traffic stops, and with the racial profiling and all the information that's going over to the JP's courts currently.
Just doing the average, based off of the price of 20, if to add 5 more is another $3,400, $3,390 to be exact. Just using their numbers, which,
yes, sir,
that would be what that would equate to.
Yes, sir.
I think we need a new quote if we were to change it, So
with those, anytime we've ever done any additions to anybody within the agency, and this is, or within our purchasing within the agency, they've always been able to provide additional quotes. They'll also go off of what we currently have. So if we did a package deal and bought 20 now, they're going to hold to that rate of, however much that price break may be for buying 20. So if we go in and add, say, 5 more, later on down the road, they should go in and give us the same pricing on that. Okay. But I can follow up with that to make sure that if we do later on in the upcoming months or however long, they'll give it to us at that same price. So
All right,
the current one we have is what we're asking, or what's asked for.
Any other discussion? Okay, with that, I'll make the motion to purchase 20 in-vehicle printers to support e-citation from Turnkey Mobile DIR TSO 4025 at the cost of $13,560. Costs include thermal printer, car adapter, USB cable, vehicle mount, and 60 100-sheet rolls of paper. Cost to be paid out of Fund 55.
Second that one.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Samuelson to purchase the 20 in-vehicle printers to support e-citation from Turnkey Mobile Direct TSO 4025 at a cost of $13,560. Costs include thermal printer, car adapter, USB cable, vehicle mount, and 60 100-sheet rolls of paper. Cost to be paid out of Fund 55. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Eagle voting against. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it very much. Item number 13, discuss the Texas Historical Commission, its role in the state of Texas, and its function as it relates to recorded Texas historical landmarks and its relationship to Texas County. This is a discussion item only for the benefit of Hood County citizens. We have a number of citizens that have been waiting anxiously to talk to us. Number one is Mary Haddix. So, Ms. Haddix.
Thank you, Judge and Commission. Recorded Texas landmarks, as you know, come under protection of Texas state laws. And the courthouse, our courthouse, has such a historic marker, so would fall under the Texas Government Code, Chapter 442, Section 442.006, which does include the buildings and structures and grounds. That having been said, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't intend to try to sound like one, but years gone by, the Texas Historic Commission required us under Judge Rash to remove all of the crepe myrtles and trees that were around the courthouse because they were not historic and they wouldn't have been on the grounds of a 19th century courthouse. And so we were sad. Many of us loved those beautiful red crepe myrtles, and they were laying on the ground one morning. And so this brings up the subject of the bronze from Covell. And I had the privilege of knowing and being a friend of Ken Hill and also knowing Covell. His work is fabulous. There is no doubt about it. Whether or not it belongs on the courthouse yard is another question, and I think that the state will probably say it does not. I would like to request a consideration of this court to appoint a liaison person to perhaps work with the city and determine where appropriate places would be to place these statues, the parks, the hike and bike trail, et cetera. I do work on the Historic Preservation Commission for the city, and we did turn down this request, although it came to us erroneously. We have no authority over it. This is not to say we don't want the art here. It's to say, let's find a place where it can be showcased, and that's my request. You know, it's really hard for me to even say hello in 3 minutes, but I guess I made it, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. The next speaker is Cindy Peters. Did she leave? Okay. The next is Faye Landum.
I have attended the commission court meetings faithfully for several years and have never had the desire to voice my feelings publicly before the court on any issue until now. Today, I am recommending the Black Star statue be placed at the base that has already been constructed at the rear of the courthouse. I'm a Christian first and a tiny, tiny little bit of Cherokee Indian, for which I'm very proud. From her biography, Black Star was a Comanche Indian medicine woman from Hood County, and evidently a very famous one by the many words written by her in various publications. I find it almost laughable that anyone would fault an Indian medicine woman for doctoring on folks in her tribe, when many of us recently, and maybe some of the folks currently on the dais, were doctoring ourselves with horse medicine for the prevention and treatment of COVID. And yet we find fault in the statue of a long ago famous Indian healer. She healed her people when I bet there were very few people in white physicians available and willing to help the Comanche people. I realize some folks will be unhappy if the statue graces our courthouse lawn, just as some are unhappy that we have a statue of the Confederate General Granbury with the rebel flag draped around the base of his statue. He is there because he's a part of our history, just as Black Star is a part of the Hood County history. I am requesting that Black Star statue be placed in her designated spot in the courthouse property. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Langdon. Okay, next, Elizabeth Mercer.
Well, with all this brouhaha, I got curious, so I called the Texas Historical Commission, and I read Title 13. And then I started emailing because it created so many questions for me. Like Ms. Langdon, I would love to see the statue in the courthouse, but I also understand that it's possible that that's not going to happen because it will be up to the state. They will have to approve it or not approve it. We really don't have a lot of play here. And I understand that, but here's what I found interesting. We don't really have a lot of play for almost anything, and because there's been so much back and forth, the gentleman who's in charge of our courthouse sent me an email and said, if you're going to make even a temporary change, you need to let the Historical Commission know so that we can be sure and give you advice so that you don't make any errors. Now, that's not verbatim, that's just kind of generally what he said. And if we had internet in here, I would read you the email, but we don't. So there you go, I can't pull it up. I tried. So with that in mind, I want you to know that as far as getting a commission to place it somewhere within the city, I think it's a wonderful idea, if indeed the state says no. But we also have, Tarleton University has already stepped up and volunteered to put it at their museum. So we have options. Just depends on what everybody wants to do. Now, while I was asking all these questions, I began to ask questions about the courthouse itself, because it's beautiful, and I agree with we need to preserve it. And I came across an interesting fact, and I would like for you to answer that for me. You don't have to do it today. But I came across this interesting fact, and I can't find anywhere in the county records, looking at the Commissioner's Court, where we were going to allow a constable to take a storage room and turn it into an office, and yet it has happened. So, did the Historical Commission sign off on that? Did the county commissioners sign off on that? And I pushed it a little bit harder because, you know, I'm a curious sort, and I found out nobody has a key but this constable. So, who's in charge here? Is it the Commissioner's Court? Is it the state of Texas? And why can we have a constable take a building, a room that's actually designated, and turn it into an office at large? I don't understand how that can happen. If we can't even have statues placed, if we have to ask permission to put up flags or Christmas trees, or if we're going to have vendors out and they're going to put up awnings, because going forward, since this has turned into a big brouhaha, that is what they're asking per the email I have. So I would like for you to look into that, and if indeed we have a constable in the historic courthouse that has converted a room improperly, I would like for you to address that, because, you know, it's got to be right for everybody. If we're going to have rules, and we're going to preserve the courthouse, and we're going to preserve the grounds, and by the way, according to what I found out, that includes the square. That includes all of it. If we're going to do that, I would like for you to make the same rules apply to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ms. Claudia Southern.
It's my privilege to serve on the Historic
Commission for the City of Granbury. It came before us to look at some statues to put on the courthouse square. We said no because we didn't think it was in keeping with the square itself and the courthouse square particularly, and that we would be losing sight of the courthouse. As we began to look into things, it seemed to us that a call to the State Historic Commission was in order. So we made that call and asked them, you know, we were erroneous in hearing the proposal anyway, but we were certainly interested to find out that the State Historical Commission has control over the courthouse square, and that we should go there if it's a state law, then that's one that we should be following. And if it includes everything, or to give them notice of when things are happening, we need to do that. But certainly for something that is pretty permanent, putting up beautiful art, absolutely beautiful art, but perhaps not on the courthouse square. I think we have places in Granbury that it can go up and be enjoyed by everyone, but I would urge us to take a good look at the Texas State Historic Commission and their ability to have say over what happens on state historic markers.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Harold Granick.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. I thought this was settled at a vote 2 weeks ago, but apparently some people want to bring back when the vote doesn't go their way. I heard objections when this was discussed 2 weeks ago that this was a statue of a pagan healer, and that was objectionable to a group that does prayers on the square. That's an honorable thing to do, but we're talking about the square being historical. And I'll point out to those people who objected on that grounds that all of the physicians they go to took an oath called the Hippocratic Oath, and Hippocrates would also be considered a pagan healer. So I trust that they'll stop going to their physicians. The courthouse represents a historical document. I've just heard that this is inconsistent with the historical nature, but I'll remind everyone that the Native Americans occupied this land, the land I have owned and try to preserve in the nature of the Native Americans, that they existed long before a General Granbury or the people who took over, and did not all that honorably treat the Native Americans. This statue honors the Native Americans, and that land where the courthouse sits was Native American land, generally not owned as such, but occupied, and it would be reasonable to honor the Native Americans. That's part of our history, long before the courthouse was built. So I thought this was decided 2 weeks ago, and I hope we'll preserve this. I don't know exactly whether the Historical Society has absolute power, but I hope not. I hope that there's an advisory agency, and I hope that we honor the Native Americans by having this statue, which would be a very honorable thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the last speaker is Morris Duree.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. First of all, I want to say thank you all very much for the job that you are doing up there. I see a lot of arrows flying around here all the time in all kinds of directions, and I appreciate y'all's effort. I'm in favor of the statues on our courthouse. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us that the Ken Hill Foundation has given us this. I, too, was a friend of Covell and Ken Hill for the last 50 years here in Granbury. I think their intent on all of this was to share something of beauty to all the citizens of Hood County. And the courthouse square, I think, is just a wonderful place for that to take place. I've heard the concerns about the pagan issues with Black Star. I, too, kind of chuckled at that with my wife's use of essential oils, and now I think there's a lot of the same type of treatments taking place with the natural things. But most importantly, I know we have the Historical Commission to consider here. My first vote personally would be that we could have this on the square where it would be seen on a regular basis easily as our visitors come to town. And if the Historic Commission doesn't allow that, then I think we could take and look at our other location possibilities here if the Hill Foundation will still be this generous. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes the public comments at this time. Is there any further comment or discussion?
Yes. Since I put this on the agenda as a discussion-only item, but this is not about the merits of the statues. It's not about that at all. It's not about what the statues represent or don't represent. That is not the issue. I've got a grant of easement here that this county granted to the Texas State Historical Commission back in February of, the grant was executed on December 12th in the year 2000. It got recorded, I guess, in February. January, I'm getting close. And this grant of easement really takes it completely out of our hands. And I have contacted the Texas Historical Commission as well and spoken with the person who deals with Hood County. And I'm going to read a couple of things from this grant to try to take the emotion out of this and put some facts into the record. It says, grant of easement. This is page 1, paragraph 1. The County of Hood, a political subdivision of the state of Texas. We are a political subdivision of the state of Texas. Grantor, we're granting, owner of the property described as the Hood County Courthouse and grounds. Courthouse and grounds. Air quote, property. As more fully described in the attachment to this document, was incorporated herein by reference. For other good and valuable consideration, which is acknowledged, we, the county, grants, bargains, sells, and conveys, and I think Mr. DeRee's in the real estate business, so he understands this language. It conveys to the Texas Historical Commission, comma, an agency of the state, grantee, the following easement. And it's 5 pages. It's volume 1731, page 822 in the county deed records, if anyone wants to go pull this up and look at it. It says, in consideration for the grant, it conveys and grantee an interest and easement in the property. And what happened? To preserve the historic, architectural, scenic, and open space values of the nature and character and to the extent set forth in the easement, to constitute a servitude upon the property running with the land. It runs with the land for the benefit of and enforceable by the grantee, to have and to hold the said interest and easement subject to and limited by the provisions of this easement to and for the grantee's proper uses in perpetuity. In perpetuity. And what happened was this county did a huge, let me go back to the Historical Commission, which is what this agenda item is. The Historical Commission actually has a wing within it called Courthouse Restoration, something to that effect. It's an entire wing of the Historical Commission that just deals with renovating, preserving Texas historical courthouses, which there's a plaque right out there that says this is a Texas historical landmark. And they have a department that does that. And they came up here 20 years ago or more when they, as Ms. Haddix pointed out, and made them pull up all the crepe myrtles because it did not comport with the rules of the Historical Commission. Well, why in the world would the county turn all this over to the state of Texas? Well, it's just like everything else that happens. They gave us money. They gave us money to spend on restoration of that courthouse. And when they give you money, just like the federal government does, there's all kinds of strings attached of it. This is not a string. This is a rope. This is a rope. And I'm going to get to the scope of the interest and easement. This is number 2, small a. Without the prior written consent of the grantee, which is the state, which shall not unreasonably be withheld, they say in here they're not going to unreasonably withhold permission, the grantor shall not cease or permit any construction, alteration, remodeling, dismantling, destruction, or other activity which would affect or alter in any material way the historic and architectural integrity of the property, except for routine maintenance. Now, if we go back to number 5 on our agenda today, there's another clause in here that says, here's a reservation. Grantor, the county, reserves the free right and privilege to use the property for all purposes not inconsistent with this. So I think putting up, having a one-day deal over here is, I question whether they need to send off and try to get a permit for that, but if they want to do that, that's fine. But here's the point. This was not done. You can go to the statute that was cited by Ms. Haddix and see the procedure for applying with the state of Texas. So the situation we're in now is that we've got a vote on the table from the Commissioner's Court to allow these statutes. And it happened the way it happened, and I abstained on that vote, but the court voted that. So we're here after the fact, needing for a permit to be requested. That's all this is about, and I think that's on the agenda later on down the road from this one, that we should tap the brakes, apply to the state of Texas the way we're supposed to according to the deed that we gave them. Judge Linda Steen signed this. It's got her signature on it. And I asked the gentleman who is with the Historical Commission, who had COVID, or he would have been here today, what about the Veterans Memorial sitting out here? Because I've had people ask me about that. And he said that they're going to allow an after-the-fact application for that memorial because they've been doing veteran memorials and allowing them in these other courthouses that they've spent money on. And so they have a precedent set to where after the fact, this Veterans Memorial is probably, according to him, is probably going to be approved, even though it's after the fact. And the pastor who spearheaded the Veterans Memorial is in the process of crossing T's and dotting I's to make that happen. So I don't think this Veterans Memorial on the southwest corner is in jeopardy. This is coming from the state, the person with this, and his name's James Milanope, if anybody is interested, if they want to call him or whatever. So it appears to me that with respect, and the Historical Commission does projects all over the state of Texas. You'll be driving down the road and see a historical marker up here. And people went through the process to mark a certain spot where something happened in the past, but they went through the process. So will these statues pass the muster after the fact? Because we haven't set them down yet. And here's an enforcement issue talking about this. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that we just go ahead and set them down there anyway. They've got responsibilities of grantor. This is clause number 4. If property is damaged or destroyed, and they define damaged as sitting a statue on it. Well, they don't say statue, but it covers it, because the grounds are covered as well in this easement. It says if the property is partially damaged to such an extent that the historical integrity can be restored, then the grantor shall restore it to the historical architectural integrity of the property to the condition that existed just prior to the damage, to the extent possible, consistent with the Secretary of Interior. Oh, by the way, we're on the National Register, this courthouse, by the way. Just when it talks about it right here. Consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historical properties, 1995. So let's say, arguendo, that we go ahead and just say, oh, let's just put them on there anyway, based on all the arguments we've heard. And the court has voted on it. The court voted on it. And the State Historical Commission, who is now on notice of this, comes up here and says, this isn't going to fly. Take them down. How much money are we going to spend setting those statues only to have to come back and pull them back up and put them somewhere else? So I think it's fortunate, in my opinion, and I'm speaking as this speaker only, that we've actually caught this before they've spent any more time, effort, and money on this. And if the State Historical Commission, I don't know how long it'll take them, maybe 30 days, if we tap the brakes, or 60 days. I think they've got, it's somewhere in the statute, 60 days. Is that correct? She's not, Ms. Haddix is nodding her head. So they have 60 days to make a decision. If they decide it's okay, it comports with the historical integrity of the courthouse grounds, if they decide go ahead, we've already voted on it, and they go in. I think it's pretty simple, but, and there's a lot of other clauses in this easement, but it's recorded in the deed records. We are on constructive notice of this document. We are on notice of it, whether we knew it or not before we voted the first time. Now we're on actual notice. So that's my discussion of the Historical Commission.
Okay, let me add, yes, you were quoting the easement that was granted in 2000. There was a revision that was signed by then County Judge Andy Rash, and filed in the county clerk's office February the 2nd of 2009. There are minute, and I repeat, minute differences in the verbiage, but there are some differences in the verbiage. But specifically 2A, is identical to what you read. I agree with that. but some of the grant, terms and conditions, there are minute changes between the two. So that is the document that we're bound to, not the one from 2000. And that's on volume 27, page 741, to be specific.
Now, I would like to go ahead and make something and bring everybody else up to date. When I discovered that there was these grant easements, both the one in 2000 and the one in 2009, I read both of them and found out that the State Historical Commission did have the final say over not only the courthouse, but the property, and the property is described as the land up really to the middle of the street. So this includes other statuary that's already up there. It includes the courthouse itself, and they make reference to the building and all of that. So immediately, when I saw the law, I am a lawyer. I practiced for 50 years in Dallas. I immediately called Senator Birdwell, who's rather busy right now, but I talked to him at 8 o'clock at night, I think is when he called me back, and I said that what had happened, and that we've taken 2 votes on this statutory. We passed it in November of 2022 that the 2 statutes, Black Star and Silent Prey, could be put on the courthouse square lawn on November of 2022, and then we passed it again 2 weeks ago. I said, no one knew, at least it was never brought up, and I didn't know about it. And I said, but I am a lawyer, and I do follow the law. And I do know that the executive director is a person named Mark Wolf. Do you happen to know him, Senator? And he says, I do know him, and he's a friend. And I said, well, these 2 bronze statues are really of no moment, and he says, I don't want to get mixed up in whether the statues are appropriate or not appropriate, but I will make an arrangement so that you can talk to the antiquities director, and I will make the introduction and tell him that you and I are friends and see if we can correct this situation, because certainly these 2 statutes will not be put up until and unless we get permission from the State Historical Commission. After we got through, I sent a letter on August 18th, that's last Friday, to Executive Director, Texas Historical Commission, 1511 Colorado Street, Austin, Texas, via email, mark.wolf@texas.gov. Dear Director Wolf, on behalf of Hood County, thank you very much for discussing with Senator Birdwell the issue of the 2 bronze monuments donated by the Ken Hill Foundation to Hood County, Texas. As I related to Senator Birdwell, I had no idea that installing monuments such as these bronze statues of Native Americans or the hero statue dedicated to the Hood County citizens who have died in wars since 1866 violated the grant easement between Hood County and the Texas Historical Commission. I sincerely apologize and can assure you that this event will never happen again, and I will make sure my successors are well aware of this agreement as well. I would also like to thank you for having Ms. Susan Teets contact me, because I had a most informative and pleasant conversation with her this morning. She was most helpful and a pleasure to work with in correcting this oversight. Ms. Teets has sent me the antiquities permit application, and I will be sending the completed application no later than Monday, as the engineer is unavailable this afternoon to sign the application. I'm enclosing information on the sculptor, Covell Jones, which, in addition to Covell's numerous awards, honors, and community service, he was the official state artist of Texas and official artist for the Texas Rangers Law Enforcement Association. He has works in the White House, accepted by President Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush as collectors. Further, I'm enclosing 2 pages of an email from Christy Woods to Commissioner Jack Wilson regarding the Black Star White Wolf sculpture. The email really tells the story of who Black Star really was by someone who knew her well. Additionally, I'm enclosing an article from the Hood County, Texas Genealogical Society on Black Star's memories, which was published in the Hood County News on Saturday, October the 8th, 1997. Finally, I have 2 pictures of the 2 statues which were donated to Hood County by the Ken Hill Foundation through Mr. Jeff Ferris, the sole executor of Mr. Hill's estate and the trustee of the Ken Hill Foundation. Director Wolf, I humbly ask your assistance in expediting this application because of the tedious and numerous arrangements Mr. Jeff Ferris has made with the foundry, the transportation company, the crane company, as well as securing all transportation permits involved in scheduling the installation for September the 8th, 2023. Mr. Ferris has been so generous not only with donating these sculptures, but the Ken Hill Foundation has paid for all of the foundation work, transportation, and installation costs, as well as Mr. Ferris donating all of his time and effort trying to meet the September the 8th scheduled deadline. Additionally, the Ken Hill Foundation has made 501c3 donations to both Hood County and the city of Granbury in amounts exceeding hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past, and hopefully will continue to make such donations in the future. All of the people involved in this project, Ken Hill, Covell Jones, Jeff Ferris, and Black Star, are all prominent, well-respected, and beloved citizens of Hood County. I can assure you, Mrs. Teets, and the Texas Historical Commission all have my admiration and respect, and I deeply appreciate any assistance you can give to Hood County regarding this project. Thank you, and God bless Texas. Respectfully, Ron Massengill, Hood County Judge. Then on Monday morning, after the application was signed by the construction engineer, I had my office in. Dear Ms. Teets, I am forwarding the letter and attachments sent to Executive Director Wolf, as well as the Texas Historic Commission Antiquities Permit application, which has been completed. Please advise if you need additional information. Yesterday morning, yesterday afternoon at 11:45, she sent me back an email, said, "Thank you, Judge Massengill. We would like to understand the current site with the memorial in addition to the concrete pad while considering the permit for the proposed sanctuary. Please provide a current site plan and photos that show the Veterans Memorial location, appearance, and size, width, depth, and height, in addition to the location, that is, the distance from the courthouse and the edge of the square, and size of the concrete pad for the proposed statuary. I see a photo of the pad and a plan for the pad alone, but it's difficult to understand the context of where the pad is located in relation to the courthouse and the edge of the square." I sent her back yesterday afternoon, "Dear Mrs. Teets, I am forwarding the letter." Dear Susan, we have a personal relationship now. Dear Susan, enclosed, please find the measurements taken by Jay Riley in response to your email this morning at 11:45 a.m. asking for the location of the proposed sanctuary in relation to the courthouse and the edge of the square, as well as the sizes of the concrete pads for the proposed statuary. As far as the Veterans Memorial, we are awaiting this information from the engineer and will forward that to you as soon as we receive such information. I've spoken to Pastor Brett Quinlan. He and I worked together on getting this, and by the way, the entire cost of that Veterans Memorial of all of Hood County citizens that have died in war since 1866 was paid for entirely by volunteer contributions from citizens of Hood County. Every penny for the foundations, every penny for the constructions, for the people that laid the statue, everything. Pastor Brett Quillen did a wonderful job. The VFW, the Riley Stevens family, they're the ones that work real closely with that memorial and raised so much money that not one penny of tax money was ever included in that. That has been made aware. Everybody says, and other counties have done the same thing. A lot of counties forgot about these grant easements, built memorials for veterans and heroes, and their applications were approved retroactively. This is what Director Wolf and Susan Teets have said. They feel like that will not be a problem for the dead heroes and the veterans. So that's really good news. As far as the bronze statues are concerned, as you can see, the matter is entirely in the Texas Historical Commission's hands. It had been ever since I found out about it. We've worked nonstop, and I want to congratulate Jay Wiley for working with, he's taken the measurements, cooperated fully, getting all of this information together with me, with Senator Birdwell, and contacting the executive directors. I'm a lawyer. I follow the law. And this is following the law. It was something that first was started in 2000 and then was amended in 2009. And this is something that we must follow. This is shall. So they have all of the work. I can guarantee you that we're not going to install anything until we have permission from the State Historical Commission, which, by the way, all of this information was sent to Jeff Ferris, bringing him totally up to date with this. And his comments to me is that the last thing that Ken Hill would want is for these statutes to become an object of derisiveness in this county. Ken Hill loved this county. He wanted to do something for this county. And Chris Kaufman and I personally took Jeff Ferris to every place that these statutes could be stationed here in Hood County. I'm talking about to the Shanley House statutory, where they're trying to do the monuments down there, the monuments thing, to the Friends of Memorial Lane. We didn't get permission, but we showed him that. We showed him the Langley Center. We showed him the parks up there. We showed him everything conceivably that we could do. He thought that the southwest corner of the courthouse, which was directly across from Ken Hill's pharmacy, called the drugstore, would be the appropriate place to put it, and that's what he wanted. Now, I was besieged by a group of 4 women who were really lobbying to put this in the Shanley House sculpture garden. And I told him that they were coming to see us, and that I would like to have at least one other person there to help me with these 4 women, because they were formidable, and if he would do that. And after they left, he said, I do appreciate you bringing me here to get ambushed with you. So I can assure you that we were really talking about other places to put this, but he's the one that made the decision. He also told me that if Hood County does not want these bronze statues, like he said from the podium 2 weeks ago today, please give them back to me, and that he feels like Young County, where Ken Hill grew up some parts of his young life, would accept them, or Comanche County would accept them, or Mineral Wells would accept them. But he feels like in his heart and mind that they should be on the courthouse square. Now, it's still up to the State Historical Commission. Everybody is aware of it. We're going to get as fair a hearing as possible, but I do not know what they're going to do. Jeff Ferris also told me that depending, that he feels like that he is duty-bound to call the foundry, call the transportation companies, call the crane companies, call all the other people that are involved in this as soon as possible. I don't know how long that he's willing to wait, but he says, I certainly don't want them to lose any money, and then we not have permission by September the 8th, and all this work goes for nothing, and that they can't move, and they have this appointment, trucks, everybody, all these employees available. So I'm certainly going to honor his wishes on that. But I don't think there's anything that anybody here can do that can hurry up the State Historical Commission. But they have been wonderful to me. I tell you, Susan Teets is a very, very good person. She really understands the problem. I think that Manafee and the other people, there was a lot of other people that called, she's really good. She's really going to look at it. She's going to see what it does. Anyway, I think that's all I have. So certainly I see where it's on the item, discuss and take appropriate action to ensure all historical commission approvals have been obtained before placement of statutes. That is directly in the hands of the State Historical Commission. No statutes will be put up until we have their approval, period.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, ma'am. You come on up.
Many organizations have things on the courthouse square, like the Chamber of Commerce has a 4-day or 5-day event. The art people have it. Historical Granbury Merchants Association has events there. Do they all have to get approval now from the state before they can have an event there?
Well, I was talking to Ms. Mercer back there. She has talked to him about that. The lack of permanency is a consideration, but they would like to be, quote unquote, informed of the events to just see if all precautions had been taken, that none of the property, which are streets and lawns and everything else, are properly protected. So I think we're going to have to address all of that, that when we pass something here, that the organization that wants to use the gazebo, like the prayer stations, and we've been sponsoring this. Pastor McMahon, how many years has the Read the Bible been in effect? How many years have you sponsored? Only 21 years. You never did get permission from the State Historical Commission to use the gazebo, did you?
No.
Well, you're a man of the cloth. I can't believe that. No. And who always reads for you first? Who reads for you first?
Who reads for you first?
For you first in the Bible.
You do.
That's correct. I can pronounce all the names in that first reading. That's why I choose to go first. But in any event, I think we're going to have to do that. I think that we're under new scrutiny now, that we're all aware of it, so we're just going to have to go ahead and send the application. I think for a few-hour event, like the Daughters of the American Revolution, I think that's just going to be approval. They're going to have it.
But they're going to have to do it in advance, and so all these organizations that have things, like the shelter, the woman's shelter, they need to be told that now they're going to have to get advance notice of approval before they can have their event.
I think that's going to have to be put out on the website, that if you're using the historical square property, which includes not only the historical courthouse, but the grounds to the middle of the street. Isn't that the way it reads, Jay?
What about the flags that we have around? Do they have to get approval to put those flags around the courthouse?
Yes.
They do?
Yes.
The way the document is written, that is correct.
How about that?
And the benches
4th
that are
of
sitting
July
on the sidewalk,
parade,
because you said it goes
everything.
out to the square, to the street. Can we put benches around the sidewalk without their approval?
I don't think so.
Nope.
I don't think
Not the way the document is written. Mary?
Yes, ma'am, you want to say something?
I want to clarify the question asked of Commissioner Eagle on the timing, and it's not that they have 60 days to reply, it's that you are required 60 days prior to making a change to submit a request. They have as long as they want to. I'd like to say one more thing, Judge, after hearing you and knowing Ken Hill and also knowing Covell. Ken Hill commissioned Covell to do these statues, it's my understanding, to be placed on Comanche Peak that he loved so much. And I believe that his daughter, who is now the owner of that peak, didn't want the statues there. Ken Hill just died, I think, about 3 years ago. So I believe that if he had wanted specifically these to be placed on the square, he would have given them to the city. But that aside, I'd love to see these somewhere in Hood County. If we cannot get approval from the state to put them on the courthouse square, then I implore you all to try to work with the city to find an appropriate place. It's fabulous work.
Well, as I said, Ken Hill made Jeff Ferris his sole executor.
He did.
And his sole trustee. It is solely in his discretion
I understand.
as to where he wants to put them. And when I walked all of these grounds with Chris Kaufman, showing him every conceivable place in the city and in the county and in the courthouse. And I've just told him, I wasn't trying to restrict him in any way. I told him if he wanted to place Black Star in my office, I would just move my desk out into the hallway, is what I told him. But
You'd have to get permission to do that.
yeah, I would have to get permission now that I know that. But yeah, so I'm with you.
Yeah.
You don't have an argument with me. I
Yeah.
think they're beautiful.
Yeah.
I think they cost upwards around $600,000, both of them together. And to look at Covell Jones's credentials, he's got stuff all over the world,
Yes, sir. I have some Covell art myself. I'm a fan.
Well, would you be willing to donate it? Are you sure?
It's on my husband's desk in here. No, this is not about the art. This is about the fact that we are under the rules and the laws of the state of Texas that we need to abide by. And if the state of Texas says, put up then the only other consideration that I would ask of this court is to consider what kind of an economic impact it's going to be, because we've been informed by the movie people that they can't hide those statues. So that's going to be another impact to consider. People will pay money to come to see preserved historic landmarks, and those aren't historic. They're fabulous. They're not historic landmarks to the 19th century city.
Well, here's the deal. Movie companies with their cameras can block out anything. You know what I'm saying?
These are a little large.
Hey, they can block out Black Star, they can block out that. It's amazing what they can do.
Just going by what their representative said. I'm not an expert. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And we're waiting for you to donate the Covell Jones out. I'm sure glad you told us that it's in your husband's office, okay? Thank you. Yes, Dr. Granick?
Thank Commissioner Eagle and the others for the extensive work. Since Commissioner Eagle pointed out that we're registered with the Department of Interior, does there have to be any approval with the United States Department of Interior for any of this?
My guess on that, and this is just a guess, the state of Texas, if there's any of that has to be done, when the Historical Commission gets this, they will have to do that, because they get money also from the feds. So my guess is, but it's a guess, that probably they will take, that wouldn't be our burden.
Okay, thank you.
I want to throw in one more thing, and I'm not going to name this person, but I ran into an artist, a person who's on, maybe on one of the committees, and she did not give me permission to use her name, so I'm not going to do it. But she made a very interesting point to me, and this was Saturday. She said, this location, as it's stated, and this has nothing to do with the subject matter, so please, let's not even get into the subject matter of these statues. She said that it would not do them, from an artist perspective, it would not do them justice to be at that location, especially the big one, because you cannot back up enough from it in many different angles to take it all in. Now, I didn't say that. An artist told me that, and she's pretty well connected here. And so I hadn't even thought about it from that perspective, because you've got the artist perspective, which she's hypothesizing because she couldn't be in his head. He's gone. And then you've got the people. The original intent was to go up on Comanche Peak by the person that this is about, and then you've got an executor that's got his own ideas where it should go. So I think that, and if the state of Texas comes back and says, hey, we don't have a problem with it, then we've already voted on it. It's that simple. Okay.
I just have one quick thing. Just going back to if we're going to put a notification on the website to get approval, I would suggest that it be before it comes to court, so we can be assured that the approvals have already been granted before we vote on it. And then just a correction on the Brett Quinlan Veterans Memorial. Unless I'm wrong, I was sitting out there, but I do believe that this court donated either $5,000 or $10,000, and proudly, to that Veterans Memorial.
That's not what Brett Quillen informed me. He said it was 100% donations.
No,
You said donated for what?
This court had an agenda item one day last year to donate, and I think so did the city.
I don't know.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, come on up here.
Are you speaking as Jim Jarrett's citizen or as mayor?
Speak as mayor.
Or as Mary Helen's?
Oh, man, don't. Please, sir. When I heard the comment about no donation from the court, I asked Mr. Quillen, and he just sent an email. He said, yes, I did go before the Commissioners Court and asked for $8,000. They did vote to donate. I'm not sure which one. And I was clear on that myself, because I did not want to go to the city and ask for money, so I pulled money out of my own pocket. So, yes, I called him back real quick.
So did the city donate, or did you personally?
No, the city did not donate.
But the county did.
He needed another $8,000, and I didn't get it all. I asked for other people to help.
Yeah.
But he got the money.
What,
And it's a beautiful memorial.
I can't understand what you're saying, Mr. Yarborough. We're letting other people talk. Do you want to say something?
I was just wondering, can we talk on the issue without signing up? Yeah.
I didn't understand what he said.
Talk without signing up.
Yes, yeah. This is a public discussion is what we're doing here. Okay.
I just wanted to make
Anything
that
else?
correction, because, that is it's for the veterans, and we proudly donated to that.
Okay. At this time, we're going to take a break at 22 minutes to 12. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting back into order. It's high noon. I think we're on item number 14. Discuss and consider authorizing the county judge to sign the interlocal agreement between Hood County, Texas, and the city of Fort Worth Household Hazardous Waste Program, replacing the agreement signed November the 9th, 2010. Environmental Health. Is that you, Jeannie Stacks?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioners, Judge,
Pull the mic.
In March, the city of Fort Worth did a presentation regarding the hazardous waste program. Hood County currently pays the city of Fort Worth $50 per voucher. At that time, Fort Worth was losing $45 a voucher. They agreed to extend it until September 30th of 2023. But after that, we have to have this signed agreement in place that allows Hood County to agree to pay the $95. Matt Mills, county attorney, looked over the agreement and changed some things because the agreement they sent me was basically city-oriented. In other words, it was between two cities. And we needed to change it for it worded the counties. I believe Commissioner Samuelson has asked that we also change the contacts on it. And
Yeah, we can do that in a separate amendment. We don't have to do that
Come on
today.
up, Mr. Quine, and y'all both talking to the microphone.
Yes, so we looked at this and made a few changes and some adjustments, including this first amendment that's required, the changes to the value amount being paid per what?
hazardous waste
Voucher. And Commissioner Samuelson noted that we need to change the contact information for the person to be contacted from.
It still has John Ashland. And the wrong address, but we can create a second amendment.
Drafting a second amendment for that purpose for you all to consider
next court.
Well, we're going to have to table it until the next court, because if we change anything, Fort Worth is going to have to approve it.
Right, but we can do this current amendment and then have a second amendment for another court.
Why don't you just, if you change one thing, that vitiates the agreement, and Fort Worth has the right to reject it, so why not just
change it now?
Change it and then send it to Fort Worth, see if they have, once we make a change, they may want to make a change.
Sure. The only change in addition to what they've made already is the change in contact information, who receives notification.
Right, just the notify. It still had an old address and the person before Jeannie.
But I'd be glad to amend the current amendment.
Whatever you want to do, makes no difference to me. You just, if you think it's all right and we're going to get by with it, that's fine with me.
Yeah, we'll get by with it.
Okay. You work with Fort Worth on it, so you think it's all right?
Yes.
Okay. You want to put your bar card on the table? No? Okay. All right, we'll do that. Thank you. Okay. You want to make a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I make a motion to have the county judge sign an interlocal agreement between Hood County, Texas and the city of Fort Worth Household Hazardous Waste Program, replacing the agreement signed November 9th, 2010.
Second.
A motion made by Commissioner Andrews to authorize the county judge to sign the interlocal agreement between Hood County and the city of Fort Worth Household Hazardous Waste Program, replacing the agreement signed November 9, 2010. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay, item number 5, discuss and take appropriate action to allow the Hood County Prayer Task Force and Jesus Reigns to set up in the historical courthouse gazebo on Labor Day weekend to provide bottled water to visitors and vendors. I think this is what I guess we're talking about here, is that I guess we go ahead and pass it, but it's going to have to go as an application, I think, to the Texas State Historical Commission, see if they're going to do it or not. That's what I see. That's my 2 cents worth on it. I mean,
I think we'll just have to make the motion pending approval from the Texas State Historical Commission.
Okay, you want to make that motion?
Sure. I make a motion to allow the Hood County Prayer Task Force and Jesus Reigns to set up a historical courthouse gazebo on Labor Day weekend to provide bottled water to visitors and vendors pending approval from the Texas State Historical Commission.
Second.
Second that.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to allow the Hood County Prayer Task Force in Jesus Reigns to set up in the historical courthouse gazebo on Labor Day weekend to provide bottled water to visitors and vendors, conditioned upon approval from the Texas State Historical Commission. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Number 16, discuss and take appropriate action to ensure all Historic Commission approvals have been obtained before placement of statues. I think that's moot. We know now that the Historical Commission has it. We can go ahead and vote on it. We're not going to place the statutes until we get approval for them. They have all the license, all the applications. It's up to them. It's like Caesar, up or down. So if y'all want to do that, but
Yeah, okay, well, I'll make a motion that we hold off on placement of the statues until approval from the Historical Commission.
I'll second that.
okay. Motion made by Commissioner Andrews to hold off approval of placement of the statutes until the Historical Commission has approved. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 17, take appropriate action to hold a public hearing for the proposed tax rate of .287622 per $100 valuation. Becky Kidd, are we just trying to get a public hearing date?
No,
This is public's input on it.
Okay.
Are there
Go
any
ahead.
speakers?
Should we do 18 before 17? It seems like we'd want to talk about the budget before we set the tax rate.
All right, well, let me go into public hearing then. At 9 minutes after 12, we're going into a public hearing, convening into public hearing. Okay.
Right.
Who would like to, well, we do have some,
We're not setting the rate today, we're just hearing from folks, so
We're
thank you for the,
required to have a public hearing
thank you.
on both.
okay. Do we have anybody here?
For sure.
Looks like
Yeah, we do have David Ferris wants to speak, and Jim Bell. Jim Bell was first. Is Jim Bell here?
Left.
He's left. Okay, David Ferris.
Yes, I'd signed up to talk about a few more comments on the tax rate issue. I had a 15-second comment, if I may make it, on the e-citation. I think you may find it helpful information. The IT department was talking about APIs. Those are a programming interface to be able to get data in. Every software does that. And you have APIs to extract from one software, APIs to load into other software, and a transformation has to be done. Usually IT departments do that themselves. When a company has different products, it's all published. They write the thing, but you can also find companies and contractors, et cetera, to do that are qualified to do ETL work. It's relatively simple. So doing ETL from one product out to another one that has APIs is a piece of cake, okay? Now, back to the tax rate. I am really promoting the tax rate of the 2.75 some odd percent that was recommended by Dave Eagle. And one of the things that bothered me in the previous discussions was it appeared that there was movement to potentially increase the tax rate or at least minimize the decrease of tax rates, specifically because of the rate of inflow of new residents coming into Hood County, okay? I don't quite see the statistical evidence of that. When you have a new person coming in, they will be, for the most part, moving into a new build residence because I don't think there's a whole lot of vacancy here. And a new build residence of sort is going to be at a higher valuation usually, and therefore they will be paying taxes at a higher rate. So if you look logically at, hey, what happened if 6 months from now, hypothetically, the population of Hood County doubled? Well, I would say you would have 110, 120% more tax revenue from the new residents than you have from the old, because you look at the old houses that are frame houses that are 50 years old on a postage stamp, you know, if they've got 5 people living in it, then they've got a much lower tax rate contribution than a new residence. There's also things that other cities do to try and focus on procedures, and that's not really promoting entries that are more, that will provide more revenue than others. For example, I could mention the Comanche Peak Nuclear Power Plant. Heck, if that were here, you wouldn't be having hardly any problems, because that is a business and it would be a cash cow. Businesses typically will produce more revenue for the government agency than the services they will use. The same thing will apply depending upon the type of individual residences that are built. If you were to promote, encourage residences of a half acre or an acre, you're typically going to get a whole lot more revenue from a house built on that new build than you would from something on an eighth of an acre. The other thing, I know that there's a new senior condos going in over by across from Home Depot. That's another perfect example. You have people that are retired. They're paying taxes at a decent rate because it's a new build. But gee, they're not really using a whole lot of services. Their kids are probably not going to grade school. You know, they're not going to have typically 5 people in that residence using services. But they're going to be paying probably all kinds of city taxes because they'll have more disposable income. So anything you can do to promote higher tax rate returns would be much preferable. And I would really question that a load of new, you know, a high percentage of new residents, why would we need to penalize existing residents when they're going to be, you know, just look at what you're adding. And I'd like to see I really would like to see the statistics on breakdowns of the taxes. So that's where we're at. And look for somebody to do ETL work on that e-citation. It's a simple, common methodology. So.
Hey. Anybody else? Nobody else has signed up, I don't think. Oh, Ms. Mercer, you had, oh, okay. No, that's, oh, yeah.
We're in a public hearing.
Yes, we're in a public hearing, sure.
Thank you. Okay, I'm actually for.
Well, it's not working.
Oh, it's not? Somebody time me. I'll try to time me, but, you know, once I start talking, that might be hard, so y'all watch me. Okay, I am actually speaking out for the proposed budget of 0.287622. And I'm asking you to consider going ahead and voting for this budget and passing this tax rate, because here's the thing. We can encourage all the new builds we want, but they're not built yet. Right now, for every penny that you mess with this, you're going to cost the county $1 million. So you might save everybody $400 or $500, maybe, probably more like 40 or 50. But in 2 years or 3 years, if there's a shortfall, you're going to have to raise taxes. Whereas if you keep it reasonable, right now, we still get a cut. There's still money sufficient in the budget to cover anything that comes along. And as far as encouraging people to build, well, you know, I'm not anti-build, but I would certainly like for it to be reasonable, and I would like for it to be thoughtful, and I would like for it to be set up in such a way that our resources are not tapped out. The further away you get from the city, the more likely that is to occur, and some of us don't want to be on a mud. So, I mean, you know, while you're doing all this, I wish you would just give this some thought. So if you stay with what we have, you're going to cover all of our expenses. We're going to have money in the bank. We can pay down our debt, and we're all still going to get a tax cut, but I don't have to worry about a tax hike 2 years down the road. As far as finding somebody who knows what they're doing, we have that. It's the county auditor. So I do appreciate all the suggestions. And I also want you to know that I just got this, and I was asked if I would mention these two things. So they're saying in the last court, we promoted an IT person who could oversee 8 people. So the suggestion is that you combine the county clerk's 2 offices, put them all into one. That would eliminate a supervisory position and save the county money. So there was one suggestion, so that you didn't have to worry about this tax rate, because you'd already be saving money. And the other one is, why is the district judge asking for $30,000 more for an auditor? Have we been underpaying our current auditor? And I think that's rhetorical, but I did say that I would at least read those into the record. Again, I am actually for the tax rate that has been proposed, because as much as I would like to pay lower taxes, I don't want to pay higher ones in 2 years, and you can't assure me that's going to happen. Not going to happen any more than you can assure that you can promote overbuilding so we can get more money, so that the people coming in can pay more than people like me who've been here for, you know, like in the area for like 38 years. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to make a statement since we're in public hearing?
Yeah, I got something. Are you going to speak in the public hearing? It's all you. Okay, I guess this is as good a place as any to put my 2 cents. First of all, Ms. Kidd, what is your calculation based on this new cycle that we're in, if you know, and if you don't, you can tell us from last year, about what is a penny mean in revenue to the county? 1 penny.
It's about $1 million.
Okay. So 1 cent on the taxes equates to about $1 million of revenue. And we have a known, this is the 0.287622 that's on this agenda is called the no new revenue rate. And if you look at the work table, the worksheet on this, the no new revenue rate shows, when all the math is done, which we'll get to how they get here sometimes at another time. But according to the worksheet, the no new revenue rate will mean on the average household that's last year was homestead taxable value was $304,327 was the number. This year it's $333,687 according to the paper I'm looking at, which is a 9% increase overall, which doesn't comport with anything I've heard. But anyway, what it's going to amount to, according to this worksheet, is a $48 decrease in what, compared to what you paid last year for your county tax side, for the county side of your property tax. You're also going to have, if you live in the city, you're going to get a city component, and then you're also going to get a school GISD component, which is the largest component of your property tax bill, by the way, and they're going to be voting to raise that one. I have proposed, so as I've done for the last 3 years, I've come up with a rate that I suggest, which is lower, and my proposed rate is 0.2768, which is slightly more than a penny less than our no new revenue rate. Our no new revenue rate, based on the calculations on this worksheet that we were provided, shows that it will mean an increased revenue for the county. This is where the nomenclature just blows my mind. Says it's a no new revenue rate, and yet we're going to get $907,336 more based on that rate, based on the calculations. When I go back and look at the rate that I came up with, here's my reasoning. 2 years ago, the no new revenue rate meant that you paid $77 more than you did the year before. Last year, the no new revenue rate meant that you paid $7 more than you did the year before that. So I'm pretty simple-minded. I just took 77 and 7 and added them up, and it became $84. And so my rate is based on paying $84 less this time, and it's a 1 cent difference, not even quite 1.1 cents. And it means a zero. This worksheet that I was provided shows it's going to make $1 million less. Well, that's not right, because you just told us that 1 penny difference would be a $1 million difference. So the rate that I'm suggesting is going to will mean that we will be bringing in no more revenue than we did last year. And I think that we can go back to our budget. There's not a government that I've ever seen in my entire studies that can't go back and find more places to cut. So I'm arguing for the .2768 rate in this public hearing, and I think if we were to go that route, then we would need to go back and relook at the budget and ask to sharpen pencils a little bit more. So that's all I got.
Ms. Kidd.
Judge, Commissioners, the no new revenue rate, which is .287622, is off of a form that the state of Texas determines how the information is gathered and how the rate is set. So I get that from the appraisal district, and that's where we start, because it is the no new revenue rate. But every year, we're going to get more revenue, more growth. Why it's called that, I don't know. It is a misnomer. But the judge and I had a conversation. I've talked with Nanette extensively about the budget and where we could do things that would help. So after a discussion with the judge, I propose .287540. I'd like to cut it a little bit. I found some places to cut. We did get a reduced invoice from the appraisal district, but we have moved an employee from a different fund into the general fund, so that's going to take up about $70,000 of the money that we won't have to pay the appraisal district. And then looking at our utility bills, that took up the rest. So I increased our utility bills, so we will not be in the hole next year about this time, because that's where we are now. We're going to have to do line item transfers to get money into our utilities account. Fuel, where we've been very conservative and we've utilized our fuel budget this year in other areas, I believe we're going to have to bring that up a little bit. So I made cuts, I added money, and I reduced it a little bit. I think this is a good tax rate. I think it takes you in the future, and you take care of this county, and next year you're not going to be in a bind.
So you said .2875?
540.
40, okay.
Because actually, when I was done allocating the money we saved, I needed more with what, at the end of the year, you're looking back at your revenue. Did you budget enough? Where does it look now? I wait till the very last minute to try to help any way we can to keep the tax rate lowered. And anything you do with sales tax affects your tax rate. Mm-hmm. It's directly figured in. And I sent that to you this morning, mm-hmm. and my reason why I would not change it. Yeah. Because it will affect your tax rate next year, and if you're going to do anything, 10, 15, 20%, you're already affecting your tax rate. And I agree with Ms. Mercer, I don't want to see you have to come back and have an increase next year. This is lower than the no new revenue rate. If you approve this, you're doing well for this county. Thank you.
Yeah, so what Ms. Kidd's talking about, the conversation that we had on sales tax. So where we sit right now, we are let's see. We will probably be at 6.7 million once July, August, and September are completed, which we won't know that for it's a 2-month lag. So currently, sales tax on a budget of 4.5 million, we've collected 5.29, so almost 2.3 million through June. So I looked at this, and as, I don't know if people know this, but just to reiterate, what I've learned over the past few years is that the only two things that can happen with excess sales tax is pay towards debt or go to TCDRS. So that's our retirement fund liability. So knowing that we are in great shape on debt and that we will have an overage of somewhere north of $2 million on our sales tax when we get the final numbers, that will pay down the debt, the little debt that we have, plus, depending on how we split it up, may completely pay off the liability that we have to TCDRS. So knowing those two things, and also I reached out to a couple of auditors that were at the training class that I attended at TAC and just asked for another opinion. Gave them the situation that we're in, the sales tax that we currently have, what the estimate, which is a conservative estimate for the next 3 months of the year, July, August, and September, and told them that I thought that we should be more, we should have our sales tax estimated somewhere around 6 million, because we're going to be at probably 6.7 for this year. So that leaves some room for if there was a recession. But if there was a recession, realized prices go down. So fuel will go down, groceries will go down. That doesn't change the salaries, which is a largest part of our budget. So both of those auditors said they would agree that tightening up our sales tax to something more reasonable would be a good idea. So that's where I am, is that if we, right now, the sales tax for the budget coming up is set at 5 million, correct?
That's correct.
So if we increased it to 6 million, that's $1 million that will be added into revenue that we can use for reducing the tax rate to pay for things, and rather than restricting it to be one of those two things, which again, our TCDRS liability will be all but paid off by the time the sales tax comes in at the end of the year, if that's what the court chooses to do with that. So with that, and then also we got the note that the refund for, if you've been following what's been happening, the Hood County Appraisal District has been in a bit of a conundrum and had to go back and redo their budget and also recalculate the refund. And so the refund to the taxing entities to us is going to be about $522,000. So that's another $500,000 that will be added to our budget. So do we use that, or do we set it aside to say, well, next year, because of compression, our liability to the HCAD will be higher because the schools will be lower. However, in talking to the interim chief appraiser, the budget that the appraisal district has been putting out for several years needs a lot of work. So I'm not under the impression that their budget for the next coming year and the years after will be more, because it sounded to me like there was a lot of work to be done on the Hood County Appraisal District budget itself. And that may mean that instead of their budget increasing, which would increase our assessment, that their budget may go down in general overall. So with that, I would say that we have some room for a lower tax rate because we have revenue that we are not recognizing in this budget. And I do agree that there's some work on smaller areas that I've spoken with Ms. Kidd about, and I don't see them reflected in the new budget that you sent out. Some of them were, but not all of them, so I think we probably are due another workshop to work on some of those things.
I would agree with you on the tax rate, except for the fact that I don't know what you're going to do next year with the 10, 15, or 20%. Again, this isn't my first rodeo.
10, 15, or 20%?
You've
Oh,
asked.
homestead. Okay, I just didn't know which thing you were talking about.
I'm sorry. I can only recommend what's best for the county overall, to keep quality employees, to keep payroll where it should be. We don't know what's going to happen with sales tax, because as we've seen this year, didn't we have an issue? Was it this year we had to repay? We have a month that was extremely high in sales tax. I'm still concerned that they will come back and go, oops, because they did it this year. So this bigger amount may not be there. Again, this was like $500,000 extra in 1 month.
It's $344,000 is what's on your sheet.
Thank you. I thought it was closer to $500,000. Maybe it was $500,000 that we received. But that's my concern. Is this an error? Because this is not the first, second, or third time. We have paid back before when we have received too much money. I'm extremely cautious. I'd rather err on the side of too much than not enough. But whatever the will of the court is.
Okay, I got some comments on that. First of all, whatever we are, I think that it is, it's a foregone conclusion that the appraisal district owes us money. They've told us that they do. And they're kind of restructuring and looking at their budget. That goes, how does that work if they owe us a refund? Well, according to the statute, it goes as a credit for our next bill. So whatever we have budgeted for the appraisal district, let's say it's $1 million, I don't know what it is, $800,000. If they owe us back $333,000, then that will be a windfall in the next budget. So I agree with Commissioner Samuelson on that.
Okay, it's 522.
522,000. I've been corrected by Ms. Samuelson.
And it's my understanding they're going to send a check for that amount. That's the last thing I heard.
Well, I haven't heard that because that's not what the statute says. But anyway, if they do, that'll be great. Either way, it's either a credit or it's a check. The compression, I've heard this about compression, about putting a bigger load on the other taxing entities. Based on my research, I do not agree with that. I do not believe that is true. That is a state. When the state comes in here and does compression, they coin all these terms, no new revenue rate. You know, it's like a shell game, right? This compression goes to the M&O of the school district only, maintenance and operations. And what the state's goal, the stated goal of a compression with respect to school districts is to, over the years, take the M&O part of a school district down to where there's zero tax coming from the taxpayers locally, and the state's kicking the difference in. What I witnessed last night, for instance, is that the school district, they got their compression. They're going to get that from either state sales tax, sunsetted funds. The money's coming from the $16 billion fund that they've got. The money's coming from there. So what the school district did last night is they're going to get that compression. They're going to get that 20% of their M&O rate back, and they're still going to have a voter approved rate because the state gave them the money, and they're taking some of it back, so they can give 10% raises and all this kind of stuff. That compression ratio should not affect the other taxing entities, in my opinion. Now we can have a workshop on that and talk about it, but I don't believe that compression, at least the way it's supposed to be, the way it was lined out by the legislature, that goes to the school district only. Now, if they turn around and want to put it for voter approval to get more tax money from the school district, that's what they do. But again, what I'm hearing here is that I think the proposed rate you threw out there was like 1/10,000th difference from .2876 to .2875. Is that 1,000 or 10,000th? My math is rusty right here, but whatever it is, it's a very small, and I appreciate it. At least it's less, but I will point out that there's in the news, Tarrant County has not only gone under their no new revenue rate, under by $8 million to results in an $8 million budget cut, but they've also enacted this homestead exemption, which we did 10%, and the 10% was like, that's on the table, I'm happy with that, but if somebody wants to take that to 20, no problem for me, put it back on the agenda. So I concur with you and I will go back a long way on the sales tax. We've talked about it, and it's okay. I understand your reasoning. I get it. So it's nothing. We just disagree on the end result, because I think that we do underestimate sales tax too much, by too big of a number. So what else that was it. I just want to talk about that we're going to get money. We are going to get money back or a credit back, one way or the other, from the appraisal district. That's number one. And number two, I don't think the compression over the years is going to make any difference to us. Now, there may be elected officials or people running for office that claim that, but I don't believe it. And then the sales tax, I think we can tighten that up. And if we can, then we could look at a lower rate than a .0001 difference.
Thank you, Commissioner Eagle. Just remember, what you do today affects every year after this. If you take your $500,000 that they write you a check for and you lower your tax rate, what are you going to do next year? It's one of the reasons we never use ARPA funds for salaries unless we're paying off comp time, and I don't think anybody wants to do that. But what I'm saying is what you do today affects everything. You want to shave $1 million off and $500,000. I'm all about lower taxes. I'm a taxpayer. I just want to make sure that you preserve your employees' funds for the future, and you take care of your employees too, along with the taxpayers, because I'm one of both.
So here's one little thing. This is with all due respect, and this happened at the last court where we voted on to publish this rate of .287622. That was on the agenda at one point. And we talked about, I did my regular song and dance about a lower rate, and I heard from over here that we can't cut it anymore. This is cutting it, and I know you've done a lot of work on this, so I do not discount that at all, but I know that you've got a lot of people coming at you wanting this and wanting that, and you're trying to do the best you can. However, 3 agenda items later, we had an item on the agenda about IT, about a $580,000 expenditure to do now out of this budget, as well as this e-filing deal that's going to be, somebody corrected my math on that, that's going to end up being $73,000 over the period. And somehow magically we've got the money out of this year's budget to do that. So
Because I budgeted $3.25 million to be moved into Fund 55 for the purpose of paying for these things. There have been discussions all along, discussions with my office, discussions with Drew. What do you anticipate coming up? What's going to happen? The sheriff, he doesn't do fire trucks. So, how many cars do you need? Do we need a new fire truck? Are we going to refurbish fire trucks? So I try to plan in advance to make sure there is always sufficient money in capital projects for anything. About half of that money, stuff comes up during the year. You need a boiler, $80,000. You got a deal on these switches where you saved $300,000, $400,000. I'm tickled to death that money's in there, and that's why it's in there, because I try to plan for these things.
But we're a government entity, and by now we should be able to plan for all that with each budget cycle. We should have a good, except for gas, fuel, certain things that are going to fluctuate. We should know in my opinion. I have 2 businesses, and I understand when you're projecting, but...
Air conditioners, can't plan for those.
That's
and
true.
And those come up regularly.
But those are in the budget.
No, we just voted to put more money toward Jay's buying them, just within the last few courts, because we run out. We can't anticipate what we'll need.
Which we do about every quarter. And that's not a bad reflection. That's just, what it's taking to, us to do.
I just want to take care of the county, Commissioner Eagle.
We
That's
all do. We may have a difference of opinion how that gets done.
And that's what makes this country great.
That's right.
Thank y'all.
And that's why you and I have worked together to come back and I said, let's look at it. But I don't want, when they make a statement that it's always a budget that can be cut, we got our heads of department and our employees that work hard and do this, and that's what makes this county great. I'm not willing to sacrifice those employees. They're entitled to a raise. They're entitled. The heads of the department know what they're doing. There's no waste in here. As many people as looking at this budget, we've done everything. Doing what you've done over the years is why we've been able to pay off the debt and have the credit rating that we do have. And that's why I've gone along with this. You've got to keep some money for contingencies. That's what this budget does. To cut out everything, just keep it at a bare bones, that is ridiculous. Nobody should do that. Nobody should do that. This is a smart budget that we need for the benefit of all of the county. I pay taxes too. You pay taxes. We all pay taxes. It's ridiculous. If we could do that, sure, we'd like to do it. But it comes to the time that you've got to put the whole county in perspective and do what's best for the whole county. And I like our employees and I like our people. Let's keep them happy. Let's keep them employed. And let's keep our county growing like it does and has been doing. I just think that we need to. We've looked at this until we're blue in the faces, and the .28754 is really as low as we can do this without endangering the future of Hood County, in my opinion. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's your opinion, and I disagree. We are not recognizing $1.5 million that can be used to keep money in the taxpayer, in the whole county. I'm talking about the whole county too, the taxpayers that pay our salaries, that pay the Hood County employees' salaries. If we are able to recognize some of this income that we will receive, to use that to lower the tax rate, then, like I said, I talked to a couple of, they're like Becky, they've been auditors for a long time. They know, they teach classes at TAC, and they're highly respected across the state, and they both agreed that we have an opportunity to tighten it up and to be able to use those funds for the good of the county, instead of keeping them to the side and only being able, remember, we're restricted to only 2 uses when you have overage and sales tax. We're not going to have a TCDRS liability here in the next few months. And then that leaves debt, which is almost completely paid. So then what? Then what do you do with this? Do you just...
Then what do you do next year when you don't have the tax rate because you've lowered it? What do you do then when you can't make your payroll because you've lowered it $1.5 million? What do you do then? When you can't give people raises? You want those other 2 auditors to come up here and explain that, Nanette? Because I've done this a long time.
We will have additional growth. Our tax base will increase. I don't think that's going to happen. And I do believe there are places. I'm not saying that the county employees don't work hard, but we had an example just today where our fire marshal found, it's a small amount, $700 and something, but there are places. Nobody's looked at our contracts for years to see where we might be able to negotiate better rates. So I do believe there are places to look for savings.
But again, I caution you, whatever you do today affects this county for years to come.
I understand.
And I would like to make sure that we pay our jailers enough, because we cannot keep jailers. I don't think we're paying enough in the next budget. I think that should be increased, and that's going to take away the little piddly amount that I shaved off.
No one up here said a word about salaries. Not one of us.
I didn't.
Except the judge and you.
I brought it up because I know how hard it is for the sheriff to keep jailers. I recognize that. I've been here a long time. He does everything he can. I think that that's an area where we could do a little better and pay him a little more, if you want a good use for any additional monies. Thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And this is really kind of maybe to lighten the mood a little. Commissioner Eagle, Commissioner Samuelson, if you're wrong and she's right and my taxes go up, can I count on you to pay them? Just wondering.
Anybody else? Yes.
One of the things that, as a developer and planning on large projects that I've seen throughout my business career is on large projects, which obviously a county budget like this is huge, you have to have a significant contingency in there because you don't know what you don't know. And that's the struggle that any business has, and that's what my fear, listening to Ms. Kidd talk about. I get, and again, I'm all about cutting taxes, that's my mantra, but being conservative about this and making sure we're protected in the future is what my big concern is. A 10% contingency on most of the large budgets that I've seen is typical. 10% sounds huge, but you go talk to any business that has developers or construction companies that put in a project. You guys have been looking at a lot of construction projects right now, and there's always a contingency line in there because you don't know what you don't know. I think utilizing this money that Ms. Samuelson has suggested to try and take care of things right now, that's great. But looking at our future, guys, I really would encourage you to think about keeping some type of significant contingency in there.
Thank you.
So now, sir, you're getting into what is called unallocated fund balance, and that's another policy debate that Ms. Kidd and I have had over the years. Because if you look at the generally accepted accounting principles for a government entity, they suggest that you have about a 3-month unallocated fund balance for just that. And I know that Ms. Kidd would like to, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you can stop me if I'm speaking out of turn, but usually she advocates for a higher unallocated fund balance, more in the range of about a 6-month contingency, 5 or 6 months. I think we've had up to 7 months before. So we have, if you look at our balance, our last financial report, we do have a healthy fund balance that's unallocated as is. And so I invite you to go out to our financial statements, our yearly financial statements are online, and you can go take a look at them and look at our history of unallocated. Fund balance has different components. It's got allocated fund balance, it's got obligated fund balance, it's got several components, 4 or 5 different nomenclatures for the fund balance. But there's one part of it called unallocated, and we've always been in pretty good shape on that. I don't know where this proposed budget as it sits is going to leave us with a fund balance, but if you look at our last financial statement, we had about, well, I'll have to go back and look at it, but it seemed to me like it was 5 or 6 months of operating expense for this county in fund balance. So that's, to me, and that's the conceptual back and forth between Ms. Kidd and me, is how much should you have in a savings account, because that's what it is. And if you've got, the more money you've got in your savings account, the more you're taking from the taxpayers to put it in a savings account. And this is exactly what we've got right now. Our disagreement with the appraisal district is they've been taking the surplus funds every year and rolling them into different, they've had a surplus every year, by the way, for the last several years that I can see. And historically, they've put their surplus into a retirement, because again, they're constrained like we are. If you get a surplus at the end of the year on certain funding, there's only a certain place you can put it. It's not like you can use it for any part of the budget. And so what they've been doing is taking that surplus and rolling it into their retirement, A, and B, the last 3 or 4 years, they've set up a building fund to build their $6.5 million appraisal district office. They've taken it upon themselves to start allocate money or put money into that account, which they don't have permission to do. So I invite you to go look at our financial statements, and we can talk some more about that. But I think based on what Ms. Kidd's usual practice, we still should have a pretty healthy fund balance unallocated.
And that we can be proud of. We can be proud of that. When I started, 5 minutes after I became auditor, Butch Barton came in and said, we need to build a library expansion. And the Library Foundation is going to give us $1 million, so we need to borrow $2.3 million. So within 6 weeks, we have borrowed the money. Within 3 years, we paid that off instead of 7. We have they call it refeasing, I call it refinancing, several monies. We paid off pretty much everything early. We've saved well over $1 million to the taxpayer by doing that. At the end of August, we'll owe $1.5 million in bonded debt and $4.4 million to the Crescent Bypass. We will never pay the Crescent Bypass off early because it's interest-free. That's unheard of, to get an $11.8 million interest-free loan. But that's what this county did. I'm really proud of where we started and where we are. There are auditors all over the state of Texas who would love to be in our financial situation, to have 6 months' worth of fund balance and the low debt that we have. I'm proud of us, and I'm proud of the court for allowing me to do that over the last 7 years. Thank you.
One thing to address the contingency issue, we saw a prime example of that last week in Maui. That's total devastation. If we have, heaven forbid, we have that kind of a situation in Hood County, where are we going to be? Because those people over there have nothing other than the clothes on their back. That's it. And if something, like I say, was to happen catastrophically around here, we're going to need some of that contingency fund just to get by, because that was a massive event over there. That's all.
Anybody else have anything else, or are we going to adjourn back into Commissioner's Court at 5 minutes to 1? Okay, we're at actually 6 minutes to 1. We're convening back into Commissioner's Court. Hear any motion?
It's not an action item.
Okay. Now, number 18, take appropriate action to hold a public hearing for the proposed budget. So at 5 minutes to 1, we're back into a public hearing on the proposed budget. Ms. Kidd?
Anybody want to talk about it?
We don't have anybody that signed up for it. Does anybody want to say anything about the budget?
It is still just proposed. There can be another workshop to iron out any other line items that are too much, too little, any adjustments that the lady and gentleman would like to make.
Anybody want anything?
No, again, just, Becky, I know you've been getting hit left, right, and center, and thank you for what you do.
You're welcome.
Okay, then at 4 minutes to 1, we're back, convene back into Commissioners Court. Okay, now we're going to the consent agenda. Does anybody, we have one speaker that would like, Ms. Harrell would like to talk about personnel and E about the bottled water situation. So we usually have any commissioner, if they want to pull anything at this time. So does any commissioner have, and then we'll have Ms. Harrell come up here and talk about those two items on the agenda. Does any commissioner wish to pull anything from the consent agenda?
No. Purchasing?
B, purchasing, no, personnel, I'm sorry. It's nothing, you all right?
It's purchasing, just purchasing.
All right, you just want to talk about E then, just E, purchasing, and that's the bottled water situation? Is that right? Okay. That's E1. That's bottled water switching to Blue Triton brands. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, let's remove purchasing. E.1, approve request for annual renewal of RFP 2021-012 off the consent agenda, please.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and tell us what about it, and then Ms. Harrell, you want to address it after he gets to speaking?
I just moving it from the consent agenda so that you can talk about it.
Okay. All right. So I guess what we'll do is go ahead and approve if I hear a motion, approve the consent agenda with the exception of E1.
So made.
Okay, do I hear a second? Second. Okay. Commissioner Ego has made a motion, second by Commissioner Wilson, that we remove E1 from the consent agenda, but approve the remainder of the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. So, okay, now, come on, Glenn, and talk to us about E1, about the bottled water situation.
Okay, so RFP 2021-012 is a 5-year contract that we approved with Blue Triton brands for bottled water. Government code requires us to renew those every year, so this would be the 3rd year of a 5-year contract. No price increase. It tends to be pretty good pricing if you look out there. And at the time we approved it, it was considerably less than the other vendor that bid on it. So it's just basically a standard renewal that government code requires us to do.
Okay.
Well,
can you come on up here so speak to the record, please?
If you think that prices have gone down significantly in the past 2 years, I mean, we could do it and rebid it, but, after the inflation that we've had in recent years, I highly doubt.
Y'all both speak into the record because she's trying to make a record there.
My question was, if you decide you wanted to get out of that contract, could you get out of it before the 5 years were up? Okay, so due to circumstances beyond my control, yesterday I had intended to prepare some things to actually give you regarding Blue Triton. When that contract was entered into, a different company owned, and I'm sure it was probably Nestle at the time, or Ozarka, when the contract was entered into, and now it's changed hands several times, and it's in the hands of a company that's recently been acquired by a conglomerate of investors. If I'm understanding the financials on it, there's 2 different companies that own it. They are not based in Texas, although they use Texas water, which can be shipped anywhere. And I would encourage the court, I know it's too late for this year because you've got to get this done, per state law, that you revisit this, where the water's coming from, the fee that's being paid for the water that's coming out of the ground in Texas, because it's not necessarily staying in Texas. Those fees, those water rights to remove water, to bottle it, we end up as a consumer spending about 600 times more for that water per bottle than is actually costing the company to produce it. Do you understand what I'm getting at? The water, once the water leaves a river basin, because it's being pulled out of springs. I've seen these springs myself down at, some of them, down on the Frio River. There's a spring that comes out of the ground. It's got to be as big as a big old oak tree around, just pours out of the ground into the Frio River. When you're drawing water out of that to bottle and sell at a 600 plus profit, plus it's costing you 1.39 liters for every liter of water you produce. You have to spend that much in water to make it happen. You need to look into this because we're part of the problem. You need to look at the values of Blue Triton and what they stand for. When just after we entered into that agreement, in between, a company that owned them was a Swiss-based company. And that Swiss-based founder believed that water was a commodity to be sold at a profit, and nobody was entitled to water unless you paid for it. We can't live without water. And if the water's not going down a river, communities at the end of it are suffering. And we need to look into where we get our water, and are we supporting a local Texas company? Because in this case, we are not.
Thank you. That was informative. We need to check into that. I wish the county attorney was still here. We'd make him check into it.
Well, I think Glenn can do it.
Okay. Okay.
Can we table this till next court and take a look at it? Or does this contract need to be signed right now?
Everything is now.
Everything's, I thought you were going to say everything's negotiable. I would say everything's
It
negotiable.
could be tabled. I'm confused, though, as to what exactly we're looking into. We can either renew this, or we can cancel it and rebid it out. I don't know that we can require.
Well, if we can verify the facts that
Texas,
she was talking about here, that all this water is being shipped out to another state and we're paying a lot more for it because of that, that concerns me. Yes, come on.
Oh, look, the attorney just walked in.
Just this, you can consider my comments today as informational. I don't mean to disturb the courts with the process at the time, but we do need to look into it. And if you look at a bottle of Ozarka water, if anyone in here has one, it will tell you on the bottle where the springs came from. And depending upon where you buy the water, it will tell you, and it lists, it could be a spring, it could be from here, Arkansas. It's got a whole number of states around us that the water could have come from. But I've seen one of the places, the places along the Frio River where they're actually pulling it out. So I don't mean to interrupt your processes, but certainly there's going to take a lot more time to look into this than you have in 2 weeks. There are a lot of nuances with this whole water situation. So, you can do what you want as commissioners. I'm giving it to you as information that you need to investigate this company and where they're getting their water and what they're actually paying for it. In many states, and I couldn't find the docs for Texas, but in many states, the fee is just pennies per year. And that's not even per gallon. The permit fee might be $20 for the whole year.
Mr. Quine, we got a project for you. We want to find out if the Blue Triton, who actually owns Blue Triton, our water supply people, and if they are shipping Texas water out of state so that it's increasing the cost to Texas consumers like 600 times. That's a big amount, but
so
we can run that down on the deal, but how is that going to affect the contract? The contract is, that we presently have. It's a 5-year contract. We're into year 3. When does year 3 expire? They don't have.
Well, this is the start of year 3. Our option would be to rebid it out. When we bid it out, we bid for the lowest price of water. We don't, if we're looking for out-of-state water, we've never made that a criteria for buying our bottled water for the county. It would mean a significant raise in cost.
Let's just pull it off the agenda and let Mr. Quine here look into this so we can have some better understanding about it, and that gives you an opportunity to also look at some stuff too. I'd like to stop it altogether, just not us buying it, but Drew Triton be prevented from doing that practice altogether. The state attorney general needs to get involved with that. You want to come back?
It seems like...
You didn't poke the hornet's nest now.
I know. Look at the state of Michigan, the state of California, because they all have pending lawsuits against Blue Triton.
Good. Alan, please look into that.
You got it.
Okay? Good.
We talked about at one point.
I'll hear a motion to let...
Well, I'm just a little puzzled as to us being Texans, if we quit drinking this water, how that stops it from...
No, that's what I'm saying. I want to say that not only do I think we should not be part of this scheme, I don't want Blue Triton selling this water to other people that outside the state of Texas, using our water supply in the state of Texas, shipping it all over the world, like Fiji water, for example. They get it in Fiji and ship it all over the world. Let's conserve our water here is what I'm saying, and if it's increasing the price of it too.
What if you find out this water we use is coming from Arizona or New Mexico?
Well, this water right here came from Dallas, Texas, from a deal, they do it by reverse osmosis. And it's so, I don't know what this is worth. I'm not buying this brand anymore. But anyway, so I got away from Dallas. Anyway.
So is this off the table for Dow?
There was a motion to remove it. I'll make the motion to remove purchasing item E1, approve request for annual renewal of RFB 2021-012 Blue Water, bottled water to Blue Triton brands. Remove it from the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Lynn, you're looking a little puzzled there. Are we?
I am very puzzled because I don't see the connection between us not drinking Texas water anymore, how that's going to affect Texas water leaving the state.
Not that, it's this particular company.
Yeah, I think it's more the support of the particular company is the concern there now.
But do the other companies export water from Texas?
Well, I don't know. That's what Mr. Quine is going to find out.
Then
I mean,
we might have to.
Everybody else is shipping this water. I'm worried about when does this contract expire? When do we have to notify?
We could kill it right now. I mean,
No,
I don't want to kill it right now. I want to see, maybe Ozarka and Dasani and everybody else is doing the same thing, so I don't know what he would do, and maybe we can alert the Attorney General, and maybe he needs to join in the litigation against Blue Triton to correct this. It's not that how it's affecting us, it's the fact that we're doing business with some company that's destroying Texas water supply, which in turn charges all of our Texas citizens too much money. It's twice.
What is the renewal date, I think is the question.
Excuse me?
What was the renewal date?
The renewal date is a ways off.
Okay, so we have time.
Okay, good.
What's the date?
Yeah, December 1st.
Oh,
so we've got a long ways.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
We have a long
motion
time.
second, I think.
okay.
Well, I'm with the judge all the way on this.
What? Could you repeat that, please?
Wait a minute, no, just,
I want to reevaluate my position. Okay. All right, a motion been made by,
I made the motion.
ahead.
I was going to say, a reason why it is a ways off is because if we do need to to cancel this and renew with another company, it's going to take several months to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's why we're so far in advance.
Only with the government would it take several months to get water.
And we
Yep.
may want to add something to our RFP questions about this particular issue.
Well, this is okay. This was an RFB, so it's bid only. It's
Okay.
the lowest bidder.
Oh, okay, thank you.
There's not all of this other involved in it.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Maybe we just drink it out of the tap water, out of the faucet.
Yeah.
Or out of a hose like we used to do as children. That's good. They're a heated hose. Do you have the motion?
I do not have a second.
Eagle seconded.
I second.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson regarding the Blue Triton brand water as far as the annual renewal of RFB 2021-012, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? No. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Alan, make us proud. Get a bunch of money back. Put those guys out of business or whatever, if the facts and law warrant it. Okay? All right. No road ops. Mr. Lenny, thank you. Development, Clint Head.
Morning, Judge, or afternoon, Judge, afternoon, Commissioner.
Yeah, it is afternoon.
Development is accepted applications for the replats of Rolling Creek Ranch Phase 3, lots 218R1 and Precinct 3. Sealy Ridge, lot 61R in Precinct 2. Finney Acres, lots 1R1 and 1R2 in Precinct 4. Triangle Acres, lot 2R1 and 2R2 in Precinct 3. Staff recommends setting the public hearings for these replats for the September 26th Commissioners Court.
September 26th? Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to set a public hearing for the replats of the 4 properties listed to September the 26th, 2023, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Head. Financial, Ms. Becky Kidd.
All right, for today's court, your expenditures are $4,186,750.55. We paid a hefty sum to Amagi Bank on our current debt. That's how we're at $1.5 million. We have also reviewed all the invoices and do recommend payment, and you see your expenditures over $10,000. Does anyone have any questions?
Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
Yes, I make a motion that we pay the invoices for the period of August 2nd, 2023 to August 15, 2023, in the amount of $4,186,750.55.
Second.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to pay the bills, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Next item regards monthly reports. We have received these monthly reports, we have reviewed them, and we ask that you accept them.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept, as stated.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to accept the financial report, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, acknowledge and accept the 2022 review of Justice of the Peace Precinct 1 financial records.
You have all received a copy of this financial review. There are no exceptions. We ask that you accept this review as presented.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the 2023 review of the Justice of the Peace Precinct 1 financial records.
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to accept the 2022 review of Precinct 1, JP, second by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those in favor of adjourning this Commissioners Court at 1:15 say aye. Aye.